Oh, yeah. Yeah, right on.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, July 4th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1152.
This is No Agenda.
Celebrating America, baby! And broadcasting live from the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the drone, Star State. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we just missed the Zephyr, and I've got flags on my feet, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
You better not be. You better not be wearing them. You racist.
Yes. Racist.
Happy Independence Day, John.
Happy Independence Day to everybody out there. May everybody be safe.
Yes. And
fireworks legal areas where people always get their fingers blown off.
And thank you to all of the human resources of the United States who are keeping our country running today, because not everything closes. I'm talking about my beautiful wife, the keeper, working today at the Ronald McDonald House.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, someone's got. You can't just close the facility.
Kick the kids out.
I've suggested this very thing, but that didn't go over too well.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Well, where to start? Do you want to dive right into Nike, or do you want to ease
we can
into
start with
it?
Nike, because I got some good. I actually I did a little research.
Oh, I did a little research myself.
We both did research.
Oh, my goodness. We did some research. Well, this should be fun.
Well, let's start with the bullshit story from CBS's Nike shoe bullshit story.
Nike was set to sell a new sneaker that featured a 13-star American flag just in time for the 4th of July. But the company suddenly pulled them out of stores. If Nike was trying to avoid a controversy, though, it did not work. Here's Meg Oliver.
Nike set off a firestorm after pulling their shoes emblazoned with the Betsy Ross flag, an early version of the American flag with 13 stars and stripes used in the 1700s before slavery was abolished.
When you look at that early version of the American flag, what does it symbolize?
Well, it symbolizes, I see the 13, I see the colonies, and that leads directly to slavery.
In some cases, the Betsy Ross flag has been co-opted by white supremacist groups like the KKK. Conservatives lashed out against Nike. Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas wrote, "It's a good thing Nike only wants to sell sneakers to people who hate the American flag." Arizona's Republican Governor Doug Ducey withdrew all financial incentives the state promised Nike to invest in a $185 million factory in Arizona. And former Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain tweeted, "Nothing can happen in America anymore if Colin Kaepernick doesn't like it."
Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything.
Former NFL star Colin Kaepernick is the face of Nike's Just Do It campaign. He reportedly complained to Nike the flag is an offensive symbol of slavery.
This is a great teaching moment, and it brings us in contact with a history that most of us, and most Americans, do not want to deal with.
In a statement, Nike doesn't mention Kaepernick, but says they made the decision to halt distribution based on concerns that it could unintentionally offend and detract from the nation's patriotic holiday.
Thank you for bringing us both sides.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So
now at the end, I have a both sides. I have the ISO of that because it might come in handy. Thanks for both sides. At the end, he said that.
Yeah, hold on.
Thank you for bringing us both sides.
It's kind of a good ISO.
Well, hold on. Wait, there's something I don't understand. Did she just say that when Nike released the news, they didn't mention Kaepernick?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see.
Do not want to deal with.
In a statement, Nike doesn't mention Kaepernick, but says they made the decision to halt distribution based on concerns that it could unintentionally offend and detract from the nation's patriotic.
Now, didn't they at some point have to say that Kaepernick was called them and said this is no good?
I don't think they ever did. But I want to make, before we got to the Kaepernick thing, which I think we're going to both conclude the exact same thing when this is over.
Maybe not.
Maybe not, but I have my conclusions I'm going to draw. But I do want to mention something where he says that he makes a point at the end of saying, "Thank you for bringing us both sides."
Yeah, what both sides?
Which is you're supposed to do anyway. What would you think? And I'm thinking both sides, which includes the comment that Republican groups like the KKK an operation that's not even in business to any
It's also
extent.
not a Republican group.
It's not a Republican conservative operation. It's and whether I don't know that they've ever used the Betsy Ross flag as anything.
No.
But okay, that's both sides. Yeah, so you guys did a great job of giving us a balanced report.
There's a business side to this, a business report, which I'd like to play from Fox Business, where they asked a couple of astute questions.
How did this pass through the cracks of the full chain of command at Nike, where it goes into production, these sneakers get made, and it takes a Colin Kaepernick to say, hey, this isn't cool? Right. What does that say about the organization? They're supposed to be leaders. I see them here as followers. They say, just do it. I think they should change their slogan to, should we do it?
Right. Should we do it? Right. It's interesting because there was, to your point, there was really no reaction until Kaepernick got involved. And then after that, I think the stock probably went down today after the governor of Arizona, Governor Ducey, got involved and said, we're going to take away some of the incentives for Nike to do business in our state. So that's why this might be different than the last time.
Yeah. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Colin said what he said. Nike responded. That was their reaction. Now we see the reaction for the Arizona governor and what comes after this. Again, it comes down to business, but people don't like to be pushed around. And until Colin Kaepernick gets out front and center and really becomes a communicator and starts to explain all the things that are important to him, because then I wonder, well, okay, this flag is no good. How about today's flag? How about the Philadelphia 76ers logo with 13 stars on that?
You're giving people ideas now.
I don't know. You got to take the Betsy Ross Bridge to get there from New Jersey.
You
wonder where this goes.
Okay. You want to tell me about your conclusion?
Well, this is a publicity stunt to sell these shoes, which will be back on the market. The giveaway was, if it hasn't been given away by now, that this bull crap with the Arizona governor telling Nike to go pound sand has been rebuked. He's back on board with Nike. They're going to put the plan in anyway. This is not reported as much, but that's yesterday morning it came out. The whole thing, and because the shoes are already made, they're very attractive shoes. If you like Nike shoes, these are really beautiful. And Kaepernick, whether he said anything or not, he's not even a major player with Nike. I mean, this whole thing is designed to create a fuss to sell more shoes. This is a scam from the get-go.
That was my initial reaction. Until I had a chat with producer Mo, who actually called me breathless about, you got to explain what I think is going on here. And I came up with something different, which is, I think the native ad part is where the no agenda thinking goes initially. I'm not quite sure how they would bring this back.
Wasn't really. I don't think it was first of all, I don't think it was a native ad.
Promotion.
It's a promotion.
Paid for. Okay, a promotion.
They'd be busted for that.
A promotion. It's a promotion. Now I'm going to go in territory where I don't belong because I am not the sports guy of the No Agenda show. But let's look at Colin Kaepernick's history. Now, when he burst onto the scene, he was and again, this is a lot of information I got from Mo. And Mo has standing. He knows about sports and he's black, so he can talk about some of these issues. He said, look, Adam, no one was even talking about him being a black quarterback. It was Colin Kaepernick. He had the low-cut hair. He was in GQ magazine. He was the hottie. He was the next best thing. And when he got injured, he couldn't gain the weight back, and he just couldn't get back on the team. And to review the genesis of his social justice kneeling, he didn't start off by kneeling during the national anthem at all. He started off, actually, he was sitting on the bench. He'd been sitting on the bench during the anthem for months before one photographer noticed it. And she made a big deal out of it, said, hey, hold on a second. How come you're not standing during the national anthem? You're sitting on the bench. Whereas what one could say is he was basically just being malcontent is the word. It's like, fuck it. I'm not getting started. I'm no good. I'm just sitting here on the bench. And then all of a sudden, he was asked about it in the locker room. This is a famous interview.
It is something that's evolved. It's something as I've gained more knowledge about, what's gone on in this country in the past, what's going on currently. These aren't new situations. This isn't new ground. It's things that have gone on in this country for years and years and have never been addressed, and they need to be.
Will you continue, Colin, to sit? Will you continue to sit?
Yes, I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. To me, this is something that has to change. And when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
So he was sitting, none of this kneeling business. And that's when I first became aware of it. I don't watch anything about sports. I don't know that the guy was sitting. But it was not that he made a big deal about sitting down for any political stance. He was just being malcontent, sitting on the bench and not getting up and not even caring. And again, just opinions of people who know much more about sports than I do. In that same locker room interview, it's a very interesting question.
I'm not really too concerned about that. If something happens, that's only proving my point.
Dr. Edwards has some experience with public stances such as this. You were talking to him before practice. Is he someone you've consulted with at any point right when you decided to do this?
Once again, it wasn't something I consulted anybody on. It was a conversation I had when someone asked me about it. Dr. Edwards is a good friend. He's someone I talk to a lot and run a lot of things by and have a lot of conversations with. And we have a lot of similar views.
So this is the same interview. This is before there was any kneeling, and he's good friends and was talking to Dr. Harry Edwards before the show. Who is Dr. Harry Edwards? Does it ring a bell for you, John? Because it sure didn't for me.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a big shot at University of California. And also probably the leading sociologist in sports.
And he was instrumental in getting, in fact, it was 50 years ago, the Olympic Project for Human Rights. He was the one that inspired and got the American sprinters Tommy Smith and John Carlos to raise their black glove, black power salutes when they won the medals in Mexico City. The guy is an activist, super activist. So he's talking to Colin Kaepernick, who's been on the bench, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, this is a protest, and then Kaepernick decides to take a knee after former Green Beret and NFL player Nate Boyer told him to do it, which is interesting if you're against police brutality and the weaponized state of America. But a former player, perhaps, here's proof he did that.
According to numerous reports, you had a problem. You felt it was disrespectful when he initially sat. And according to the reports, you were one of the people that sort of had an influence upon him in terms of his willing to kneel as opposed to sitting down. For the audience out there, for Americans everywhere, could you explain the difference in your mind between kneeling and sitting?
Yeah, the reports, they're interesting. I mean, a lot of people, I think they thought I was encouraging him to protest, or that I was saying, Colin, you should protest social injustices by taking a knee. And that is not the case. He was sitting. I was hurt by that, I think, more than I saw it as disrespectful. It just kind of hurt me. So through that conversation, we talked about different ways to demonstrate, what that might mean to people in my community, in the military community. And I thought kneeling showed reverence in some way and respect in some way to those that fought, and many of those that gave their life for what the flag and the anthem represents. People take a knee to pray. Anybody, almost anybody, stand in front of your wife-to-be, and you get down on a knee and you ask for her hand in marriage out of respect and reverence for her.
What you just explained, did you explain it exactly like that to Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a kneeling thing in the beginning. He was, I would surmise, initially led by Dr. Harry Edwards, and then he kind of evolved into the kneeling, which would get it more up front and center. I'm sure that was agreeable to everybody who was in the Kaepernick camp. And so then we know what happens, and just a lot of back and forth, and Trump gets involved and all kinds of issues. And eventually Kaepernick gets his first Nike deal. But he also he tries to get hired after he quits and again, I don't know how all this works, but he quits trying to get hired by another team. And then it was help me out here. Who was it that wanted to hire him? Damn it.
Well, it doesn't matter.
No,
He was blackballed is the point.
It does. Well, they said he was being blackballed, and then there was a settlement, and he got, him and some other player got under $10 million before you take away the lawyer's fees. Then he had a Nike ad, but actually his girlfriend at the time, as he was on track to get hired by the team whose name I can't remember, she tweeted out a racist picture of the team owner, photoshopped into Django Unchained, making it look like the guy was a slave owner, and so then really nobody wanted him. But who's been doing these deals for him? Well, as is typical in sports, there's a lawyer, and the lawyer who did all these deals for him is Mark Garagos. This should ring a bell. Garagos is also the lawyer for Jussie Smollett. He's also lawyer for, let me see, who else did he have? A couple other of these fine people. And at one point, even Michael Jackson. But where did we hear the Garagos name? We heard the Garagos name in connection with a Nike extortion suit, which was just dropped from the media. You don't hear about it anymore, which involved the one and only Michael Avenatti. You remember there was indictments and a big brouhaha. I think what happened here, now that Colin Kaepernick has rebranded himself for the Nike ad, he got the big afro all of a sudden. No longer is he the sexy Super Bowl, sexy ball player with all the abs. Now he's the social justice warrior who doesn't speak a good game, really. And I don't really remember him speaking about Trayvon Martin or Mike Brown or hands up, don't shoot. Now, this all came about after this incident where he was caught sitting down. He turned it into kneeling. This, to me, if you take the names into account of Jussie Smollett lawyer, Mark Garagos, his direct connection with Michael Avenatti, this is an extortion. This is Al Sharpton 2.0. I don't think that this is a promotion. He came.
If the shoes show up, then
I'm wrong. Then I'm wrong. If the shoes show up, I'm wrong. But this guy has nothing going for him, and all of a sudden, even though he's not a spokesperson, he's not out there talking to everybody about it. Just one little mention, they stop. I think they got pressured.
But where's the benefit to anybody?
A payoff.
Wait, extortion deals result in cash.
They result in more ads. They will result in more ads, and Colin Kaepernick will be doing more for Nike.
I'm not seeing that.
No, this is, again.
I think the Kaepernick thing was a red herring. I think Kaepernick's already out of the picture because they move along, and these shoes will be back on the market because they're very attractive shoes, and people are going to demand them back, and the backlash and everything is all set up. Now, it's possible if it was an extortion thing, that does explain the Arizona turnaround, where they go, so look, we're being extorted. That's why we have to get a new factory. I mean, they could do that. I could see that happening. Mm-hmm. But I think they went to Arizona and said, hey, look, this is just part of a promotion. I don't know why you're being taken in by this, which is my theory.
And both are equally possible. I mean,
no, they're only. But yeah, the proof is in the pudding.
The proof is in the shoes on the market.
Competing theories, and the proof of one or the other will be whether the shoes show up again as a product. And the whole thing, though, here's the problem I'm having with your theory. Mm-hmm. Is that why are they bringing out a shoe with a Betsy Ross flag on it in the first place?
Why not?
It was just almost to incite this kind of thing, because there is going on right now, and you hear this on the right-wing talkers a lot. The right-wing talkers, and I started noticing this so much, and most of my research went into getting to the bottom of it. The right-wing talkers are going on and on about how And this explains, if we remember the Democratic national debate, there was no American flags on the stage.
Correct.
And you listen to the right-wing talkers, and they'll tell you that, there's research has indicated that if you see an American flag, you become a Republican.
Huh. Okay.
And this research is actually valid, but it's not recent research. And the American flag has been disappearing from stages for the problem. It's somewhat problematic because of a research report that was the first version of this was done in 2008, 10 years ago. And it was in the Political Psychology Journal. And the title is Sowing Patriotism but Reaping Nationalism, Consequences of Exposure to the American Flag. And this is well researched. And I'm going to read from
Well, maybe
this report.
that's why they didn't have the true American flag and the original 13 colonies flag, so as still not to make people Republican by looking at shoes. But it's possible.
It's possible. I think that flag is very, very attractive, by the way. Just a brief exposure to an image of the American flag shift. This is from the abstract. Shifts voters, even Democrats, to Republican beliefs, attitudes, and voting behavior, even though most don't believe it will impact their politics, according to a new 2-year study just published by the Scholarly Psychological Science. What's more, according to 3 authors from the University of Chicago, Cornell, and Hebrew University, the impact has staying power. A single exposure to the American flag resulted in significant increase in participants' Republican voting intentions, voting behavior, political beliefs, and explicit and implicit attitudes, with some effects lasting 8 months. These results constitute the first evidence that non-conscious priming effects from exposure to a national flag can bias the citizenry toward one political party and can have considerable durability. Now, that study is backed up in 2011, 8 years ago.
Yeah, but hold on. You're conflating a lot of things now.
No, I'm just reading you this information. You can analyze it after I'm done. I'm not conflating anything. I'm just reading from an abstract. This is the one that actually studies and this was done in the Association for Psychological Science. A single exposure to the American flag shifts support toward republicanism up to 8 months later. And that's another whole research. And this was all done a while ago, but if you listen to right-wing talkers, you think that this happened yesterday. All this information, it's not yesterday. It's been going on for a while. The Republicans and the Democrats both know it. The Democrats keep the flag off the stages if they can. Obama didn't do that. He had the flag all over the place. The Republicans try to get the flags up, but they don't try hard enough, which seems to me to be stupid. So the Republicans are dumb and the Democrats are being kind of wily. This became a topic of conversation a little before the shoes came out. So when the flag shows up on the shoes, I think it started this discussion, underlying discussion that's going on because they brought this to everybody's attention. And so the Democrats and Republicans are now taking two sides on the flag, and the shoes are an emblematic aspect of it, and Nike's just taking advantage of it.
Okay, so you're telling me that a $100 billion company, international company, sat down at a marketing meeting and said, here's a great idea. We will use race to promote these shoes, resulting in this kind of discourse on bullcrap news television.
Yeah, because, words matter, symbols matter too. Why don't we wear a swastika for July 4th? Because, I don't know, it makes a difference. The cross burning on somebody's lawn. Why don't we just have a Nike, celebration of the cross? Well, because those symbols are symbols of hate. So we can take PC culture back. It's amazing to me the people who cry the loudest about PC are the ones who didn't show up when the offense first occurred, who didn't defend the people who were victims of white supremacy or racism or sexism or misogyny, but now pop up and say, hey, let's not be too PC. If you ain't fought the battle, if you haven't celebrated the process, you can't acclaim the product. So at this point, I think people need to be honest about it and say, it's not a matter of PC. There are many people within communities of color who understand complexity, complication. You can't have it the way you want it. But something so glaring and so apparent, that has to be dealt with.
So Nike actually had this meeting and said, this is a great idea. We're going to use race to divide everybody to promote our shoes.
It just evolved into that. The flag. Republic. All these two reports I just read through that you're criticizing me for, both of them aren't talking about race. Neither one of them talks about race. They're talking about the controversy between Democrats and Republicans.
Colin Kaepernick didn't say anything about the flag, and that the report is it's racist.
Does anybody have a tape of Colin Kaepernick saying anything?
Thank you. This is exactly my point. Why is that? There's nothing. He's not out there being a big social justice warrior against this. It's Nike said, we got to pull it off the shelves. Really? No.
Yes.
No. This is extortion.
When the shoes show back up, and they may even be part of a longer-term strategy where they don't only show back up.
Then Nike should be ashamed of themselves.
Flags.
Nike should be ashamed of themselves. And
flags.
And if Colin Kaepernick shows up doing more Nike promotion or some kind of political correctness promotion, whatever it is, somewhere someone got paid off for this. I just can't believe that a company would risk the whole operation. What if that came out? Hey, I got a great idea. We're going to promote this.
This isn't coming out. This is just my thesis.
This is Al Sharpton.
Nobody else is talking. This is not even close to coming out. It's never going to come out.
This is, well, the promotion part. I've heard several people's take on this, and you know, it's a reasonable thought, but it's really not, because there's no way a company like this comes up with that kind of marketing strategy where they kept it secret. Oh, we'll have these great shoes. I don't know what it costs to bring some shoes to market, but it's, you know, you got design, you got manufacturing, you got shipping, packaging, you got marketing,
slave labor,
and then all of a sudden we're going to pull back. This is a great idea. We're going to create some political and racial controversy just before July 4th.
I don't think they're from Oregon, or I don't think the racial thing was an element. I think it just happened to come into it, because who would think that Betsy Ross flag had anything to do with race? It was like that was the crazy part. That was like insofar as the marketing guy is concerned, that's a bonus.
All right. Well, I think you're wrong, and we shall see. But please believe me that the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson model has not kept up with technology. Has not kept up. They've not kept up with the perfect scam. They're not doing it right anymore. This is a good one. And look at the people involved. Mark Garagos, Michael Avenatti, who were indicted for extorting Nike.
Michael Avenatti had nothing to do with the Betsy Ross flag incident. There's no connection between Avenatti and this particular thing you're talking about.
The connection is between Avenatti and Garagos, who were both named in an extortion suit against Nike this past year. They tried to extort $20 million by saying that Nike was going around.
Yeah, that was I'm not arguing that. That's a fact.
Colin Kaepernick is a client of Mark Garagos.
Yes,
it's his
I know
client.
You're doing a guilt by association thing, which I think is valid in this case, except for Avenatti. He's got nothing to do with this scam.
Okay. Well,
I mean, if he does, he's really fucked. But no, I know what you're thinking. I think it's very well constructed. But if the shoes don't come out, then you're right.
All right.
That's just that simple.
And it doesn't count if they come out with a different flag.
No, actually, I'm thinking if from a marketing perspective, what you want to do is come out with a bunch of different flags, including the Betsy Ross flag.
Well,
the Betsy Ross flag has to be in play. Because that black professor's going on about the Betsy Ross flag being something to do with slavery is ludicrous.
Right. But did you
that
notice?
Means all American flags
did you notice,
are slave flags.
Did you notice how the mainstream jumped on this, couldn't come up with an actual historical reason why this flag is racist? And so the narrative has become there are groups who use that flag.
Yeah.
That's
KKK.
That's the bull crap right there.
Let's go look at does KKK have any website? I want to see if their website has a Betsy.
You know what this is, John? This is truly a false flag. Come on now.
KKK.
My goodness.
I'm looking here at the KKK entry. They got a Nazi symbol on a clover leaf. They got a bunch of things, but I'm not seeing Betsy Ross. So this is, I think that, by the way, I think you're dead on. That has to be what happened. The media had this thing, and they had to find some connection to racism. So they found maybe there's one group of some old lair or whatever they called themselves has a Betsy Ross flag as a symbol. I don't know of it. It's not in. It's sure not shown as a symbol in the what the hell's the name of that Klan movie that was done by
Spike Lee, Black Klansman.
Well, there's one. Was there a Betsy Ross flag in that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so. And it wasn't in the movie. I'm thinking of the great movie that was done in the late 20s at something of nations. Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation was about the origins of the Klan, and there was no Betsy Ross flag ever referenced. This is bull crap. They should be called out on this.
So the genesis of the story is from the Wall Street Journal, and I'll read from the story. Nike Inc. is yanking a USA-themed sneaker featuring an early American flag after NFL star turned activist Colin Kaepernick told the company it shouldn't sell a shoe with a symbol that he and others consider offensive, according to people familiar with the matter. So,
familiar with the matter.
So I don't think Kaepernick even called the company. Someone started this thing going. Maybe it went straight to the Wall Street Journal. Who knows? It was according to people familiar familiar with the matter. And I think Nike heard this, went, "Holy crap. We got to stop this shit."
I mean, that's a possibility, but that again says the shoes will never come out. But
hold on, let me just read
this
from
another perspective.
Let me just read
Colin Kaepernick is a public personality. He has an agent. You can call him. Why does the Wall Street Journal not call him?
Why? Let me read.
Call him. You can say he's not available for comment.
Let me read the next. Let me read the next paragraph. It would answer your question. After images of the shoe were posted online, Mr. Kaepernick, a Nike endorser with no more contract, reached out to company officials saying that he and others felt the Betsy Ross flag is an offensive symbol because of its connection to an era of slavery, the people said. Some users on social media responded to posts about the shoe with similar concerns. Mr. Kaepernick declined to comment. Now, if this
why would he decline to comment?
Because all had to happen was this news had to come out so that they would be afraid.
No, I'm not talking from that perspective. Hell with that. I'm talking about the journalistic perspective. If you're writing a story and you got a rumor that this guy said something and he's a public personality with an agent and you can get a hold of him and apparently they did, but he declined to comment. Why would he decline to comment? He's an activist. He would have commented.
Exactly. Maybe
this story is bogus.
Maybe it was Garagos who said, maybe I'll have Colin talk about your damn shoe.
Well, that's getting into the conspiracy side of things, but
that's
a possibility.
It's what I do.
Possibility.
It's what I do.
But again, why wouldn't they quote Garagos?
Because
if you're a journalist and you're writing this story, you're getting people on the record on this one because it's not like a secret in the White House. It's not something from the CIA that you can be thrown in jail for revealing. This is a simple thing.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Why doesn't Garagos get quoted? Why doesn't Kaepernick get quoted? The people familiar with the thing. Who is the people? Why don't we quote them?
Well, that's why I was so interested when I heard your clip. They said there was no mention of Kaepernick in their retraction of the shoe announcement. That's interesting.
The whole thing stinks.
Yes, but we'll keep it at this. We'll keep it between promotion and blackmail. And we'll keep it, and we can disagree on this.
Well, no, we won't be disagreeing forever.
No. When I'm right, you will come to me, and you will come groveling.
It's not going to happen.
All righty then. Congratulations to Gab.com. They joined the well, at least they released their new system today, which is a Mastodon clone or fork, I should say. And they have not completely federated yet, so I haven't been able to. I can follow myself from noagendasocial.com on Gab. I haven't been able to do it the other way around. Posts aren't showing up yet, but it's a big thing that they're doing. And already the social justice Mastodon Fediverse is laughing at them and telling them they're losers.
Why? If you're into this federated thing like you are,
because
why would you not just encourage the whole world to go this way?
Oh, well, hold on a second. No, the Fediverse is run by social justice warriors. it's built by them.
Oh, yes, that's right. You told me this
It's
before.
built by them. They're ready to block as soon as they come online. Not everybody,
not
of course.
they're phonies. They're just a bunch of Nazis. That I use the term broad sense.
That's what they're saying. Yeah. So now that they've got this up and running, and it's not really up and running yet, immediately it's like, losers. So I say give them a week or so to get everything going. It'll take longer than that, maybe. You got a lot of users. You're trying to make the pub sub activity work and everything. I can just see all the problems. But it's a start. It's a start.
Well, good. It's Gab is a little more open than Twitter, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but and there's more Nazis, which is a lot more fun.
Well, the Nazis are entertaining.
I haven't actually seen a single Nazi post. I don't really do much on Gab. I check it out
once in a while. It seems to me to be pretty much like Twitter, only a little more complaining.
Yeah, and you don't see posts with this tweet is not available. I don't see that, which is the thing that bothers me the most.
Well, I hope I never go to Gab and see this tweet is not available.
Anyway, moving away from the United States for a moment, we have some big news coming from Euroland, from the Eurozone, as it looks like there have been some decisions made in the leadership. Now, the way it works and I have a couple of clips here, the way it works in the European Parliament, we have the European Parliament, of which we have a president, we have the European Commission, we have the European Council, and we have the European Central Bank. And you recall that we had the Spitzenkandidat process, which is each of the parties, the big parties in each of the 27 member states, all say, okay, here's the person we would like to have as the president of the council, of the commission, of the of parliament, and choose between one of these. And then I think it is the council itself who goes into the back room and deliberates for days on end, and they choose by secret ballot, they choose the winners. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Spitzenkandidat, interestingly enough.
Well, there's more than just a little frustration amongst MEPs here in Strasbourg about what has happened over the last couple of days, that yet again it is the Council that has taken control of who should get the top jobs in Europe. For the last couple of decades, this place, the European Parliament, has been trying to exert its authority, its legitimacy, it would argue, as the only directly elected elements of the EU institutions, that it should be able to put forward its candidates to take over those lead jobs. That's what the Spitzencandidate process was all about. It happened in 2014 with Jean-Claude Juncker, but it seems to have now died with Jean-Claude Juncker, because when you look at it, none of the lead candidates from this parliament have managed to make it into those top jobs. They are frustrated here because they look at those decisions made in Brussels in the back rooms in which EU leaders have been essentially writing down names and scratching out others. That is not, as they would say here, very transparent, not very democratic.
So who exactly was chosen? Well, it should come as no surprise that a German leader is always needed at the head of the European Union project, since it truly is the German Reich that is running this.
It's a German empire.
Got to have a German running the show. But we know what the choices were based on because we actually titled one of our shows after the reason for the choice of the people who have been chosen.
National leaders have finally agreed on the nominations for the EU's top jobs, but their choices still have to be approved by the European Parliament. 2 women have been proposed for key posts: Germany's Defence Minister, Ursula von der Leyen, to head the EU Commission, and the French head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, the European Central Bank. Well, the European Council, made up of leaders from all 28 member states, had spent a gruelling 3 days in Brussels trying to thrash out a compromise.
After marathon negotiations holding the leaders in Brussels for 3 days, Finally, an agreement. Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel, the only person actually present at this summit, will take one of the top jobs as European Council President. But it's the last-minute outsider, German Defence Minister Ursula von der Leyen, who's set to take what's considered Europe's top job and become President of the European Commission.
We have chosen 2 women and 2 men for the 4 key positions. A perfect gender balance.
There it is.
I'm really happy about it. After all, Europe is a woman.
The other woman is Christine Lagarde.
Did you know that Europe is a woman?
Is that what he said?
Yeah, after all, it's first of all, he says gender balance. We knew that's what it was going to come down to. Oh, we got 2 women, we got 2 men. We're gender balanced. We are so fair.
Positions. A perfect gender balance. I'm really happy about it. After all, Europe is a woman.
There you go. Europe is a woman. Just remember that.
The other woman is Christine Lagarde, head of the International Monetary Fund and former French finance minister. Notably, the European Commission president is not being selected as the lead candidate from the winning political grouping in the European Parliament. That would have been Manfred Weber from the EPP. While von der Leyen is from the EPP political family, this choice may mean the so-called Spitzenkandidat system is now over.
So not only did they not choose who they wanted...
Hold on a second. So that's a huge surprise. The actual way that might be somewhat democratic is now kicked out the door.
Yeah. Goodbye. And Anne Widdecombe of the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage's party in the European Parliament, she was pissed off about it.
Thank you, President. It's a great honour to speak on behalf of the largest single party in this place. And may I say that if I needed any convincing at all, that the best thing for Britain is to leave here as soon as possible. It was the way that those elections were conducted yesterday. Because if that is this place's idea of democracy, then that is a serious betrayal of every country that is represented here. Because it is not democratic at all. And that is just one of many reasons why Britain is right to be leaving this place, hopefully on Halloween. And it is right because there is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. I represent the southwest of the United Kingdom.
Piano, facciamo
And
concludere.
I found on my
Can you come to a conclusion, please?
first day that this place has decided, at least this place hasn't, the powers that be have decided to actually increase the size of fishermen's meshes, thereby reducing their income by 40%. That's what you do here. That's why we're going.
Grazie,
News
concluda.
how long? Veergayin, we're off.
Veergayin! The troll room correctly identified this as a complete dead ringer for any Monty Python sketch. You sounded so much like it. And then to end it with Veergayin! I didn't know about
like those women in the 30s comedies that used to have that hype. Well, I don't like it.
Yes,
that type of woman
that's
was
the
a
one.
very common character in the 1930s. W.C. Fields used them. Marx Brothers used them. I can think of a few of the names. Marjorie, I can't remember her last name. There's a bunch of them, and they could do that voice. I actually went to dinner at a friend of mine's house one time in outside of. He lived in Sèvres outside of Paris, and they brought over their cousin or something, and she was a young woman, about in her, I guess, 30s, maybe, or young 30s, or late 20s, maybe. And she, as a young person, actually had that voice. I've never heard it in the wild ever. My jaw was dropped the whole time. Oh wow!
And I learned something.
How does anybody talk like that?
I learned something new in that clip. that the EU is determining what kind of toilet you can have, how much water it can flush, what kind of light bulb you can have. These are all things that people get pretty irked about.
For the good of the public.
I did not realize that they had put in a regulation to increase the size of the netting. Apparently, so smaller fish get through. These guys, they're brazen, man. Oh, no, that net's illegal. Oh, you can't use that. Before I have one more thing from Nigel Farage, but there's also now a European directive for electric vehicles in the EU. I think by 2022, they all have to make noise. Because otherwise, blind people will get run over. Yeah, this is the sound. This is the sounds that are being proposed. Yeah, these are the sounds. Right? No, it's not a joke. It's from the BBC. Well, it could be a joke, but that's the sound the electric vehicles are supposed to make.
A song?
Listen.
Sounds like somebody like a bad organ player.
I think they should use this.
If the place is crawling with these cars making that noise, you'd go nuts.
This is the one you want.
That would be better. Here it comes.
That's the one. That's what you want.
Oh yeah, that or this.
There you go. Woo!
That would be something. Seeing that come down the road. Now, I want this before you go on, which I want to hear the next clip. Obviously, is. What do you think is going on with Christine Lagarde? Because she's an agent for the Americans in the IMF, I believe. You think she's going to be a mole over there, or she's just going to switch sides and become an EU?
Oh no, This is complete globalization. The U.S. actively worked getting her in that role by framing Dominique Strauss-Kahn. You remember how fast that went?
Oh yeah, that was a quickie.
And it was Cyrus Vance, Jim Comey's buddy, a lot of people involved in all that.
So he's just part of the same globalist network.
Yeah, I think so. But to have her in charge of the European Central Bank, oh man, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That should be fun to watch. Good old Fifi. She has no banking experience. She's not a banker. She's a globalist shill. So at the inauguration of all the new members of the European Parliament, they decided to play the European Union national anthem, which is Beethoven's Ode to Joy, a fine Austrian composer. They always resort back to the same kinds of things in Germany, don't they? When they're running the empire.
Wagner back sooner than later.
No, the Valkyries are on their way. And so the Brexit party stood up and turned their backs as it played.
Well, they played the anthem, you see, and we didn't stand up as the others did, all ramrod straight to attention. We sat, and the President of the Parliament, Mr. Tajani, Italian, said, "It is polite to stand up when the anthem of another nation is playing." He called this place a nation. So we obeyed his instructions, and we did stand up, but we just faced the other way.
Yeah, but you offended a lot of people. I spoke to MEPs who said they thought it was disrespectful. You are a member of this Parliament. Your other 28 MEPs were members of this Parliament. Surely you should have just stood up when the anthem was played. That is in tribute to this Parliament.
Well, I tell you what's disrespectful. What is disrespectful is to take the ancient nation states of Europe and without asking anybody's permission, turn it into a country, because that's what the President of the Parliament called it this morning. I think that's really disgraceful, and I am not going to stand to attention for this anthem. No way. I'll show respect for any anthem of any other country in the world, but not a false creation like this. And I think we did the right thing.
No, I agree. Especially when they said it's a nation. It's a national anthem of the European nation.
A translation error.
The whole thing is ludicrous.
It may have been the guy saying, you will stand for the national anthem of any other nation. Why not stand for this? I mean, I think it may have been Farage may be overdoing it.
Oh, well, he's always been against the national anthem of the European Union, and I can understand. They're not really a union yet.
Maybe he should have taken a knee.
Yeah, get some Nike bucks while you're at it. I'm Nigel Farage for Nike. Then one other thing out of Europe, I find myself in an extremely difficult position. I think I know what to do, but it's very hard for me as you know, I'm a big fan of the World Cup soccer for women.
Yeah, and now the big game's coming up, and you're between a rock and a hard place.
I've got the American ladies. I've got the Dutch ladies.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm really happy that they both made it to the finals because, I mean, this really made my day. Although the game between Sweden and the Netherlands, I was thinking of you. Like this. It was boring. Soccer? It's boring. It was a pretty boring game.
It's a very boring game.
I liked very much that USA got into the finals without the troublemaker Rapinoe. So it shows that she's not necessary to win matches. And this Alex Morgan, who capped the game, she did a nice little drinking tea at the end there, like screw you, limeys. I thought it was fantastic. The Brits are crazy on Twitter. They're all mad.
No, they say we're rude. Now, first of all, let's start with this. They make the crazy observation that the Americans are arrogant and rude. Americans arrogant and rude?
What? There's gambling going on?
What? Holy, what an insult.
No, this was the insult they were playing on Twitter. It was, well, the Americans they were laying down on the field the whole time. They were faking all their injuries. But of course, they do that because here in Europe, at least you can get medical care. I'm like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm tweeting back. Nice. Well, at least we Brexited properly, bitch.
Yeah, that's a good comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. I liked it. I mean, the game is a dumb game. It's boring. I mean, I'm not a big fan, but I do like the fact that we have this woman's kick-ass team. And, Americans typically in their sports, they like one team to just be horribly dominant and hateful. You like them because you start as the Warriors are a good example.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get really too big for their own britches. They won't go to the White House. They just show, they own the place. Oh yeah, we're expected to win. Then they lose.
Yeah.
So it's a very common, just like a theme. It's like a melodrama. It's corny but fun.
So Sunday is the big game. So I guess we'll have to run a best of. Yeah, I know.
Well, it's on at midnight anyway, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, but the score, the game plays way before midnight. The game.
No, I mean our midnight.
Right, but I mean, how can you? This is what kills me. It's like, no, I'm not going to watch the game at night after it's already over.
Oh yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah. So we'll know the score.
Problem. The live sports, the reason with streaming services having live sports, because the word live is important to sports fans.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like the spoiler alert and everything in between. In sports, it's like it's been shown, they've done studies. If you are rooting for one of the teams, your emotions are pretty much on par with the level of the emotions on the team. When the team wins, you're elated in a very positive way. Your system exhibits elation, and when you lose, your system, you're the fan, but you still almost get as much depression about losing as the team does. And so you want to experience that in real time, because you can't experience it if it's 3 days old. It's like eat stale bread.
Yes, and you have to stay away from social media, and you can't look at anything because people will spoil the game.
So you don't do it. I rarely, unless it was something that was, some crazy thing took place that you'd want to watch it in the replay.
Yeah. Then well, as you know, I'm the guy that watches about 2 sports games a year. One is the Super Bowl. I won't even watch the World Series, really. Basketball's too fast for me. I guess it's just Super Bowl. And then the World Cup soccer. In this case, I've been a big fan. I would be happier if this was women's field hockey, because I think that's
you like the shorts,
the skirts. That's the sport that would make it in America for that very reason. Thank you very much.
But that's like volleyball.
Yeah,
but that's a very sexist approach you're taking here. I don't see it as a man versus woman sex thing at all. I see it as fine athletes out there competing, and it's going to be one of It's going to be the end of this too. This will be the end of it. We won't be. And get you. I mean, you just enjoy it while you can, because pretty soon men identifying as women
will
become the USA national women's team.
Yeah.
And it'll be just a bunch of big burly guys.
A bunch of dudes winning.
A bunch of dudes. Yeah.
Well, luckily that hasn't crept into FIFA yet, so I guess we're lucky in that regard. Man. Anything? There was a lot of noise about the wall and the cages. Wait, maybe start here. Because it'll be the end of this month until we get more Democratic debates. But I did just want to play 2 clips about Kamala Harris. Now, she has been backtracking her hand raising to the give undocumented immigrants universal health care, which the entire lineup on that evening of the debates, they all went, yeah, sure, no problem.
Understood the question.
Senator, another defining moment in the debate was when every candidate was asked to raise their hand if they would abolish private insurance. In that moment, you raised your hand. But afterwards, your campaign says, actually, that's not your position. So what is your position on private insurance?
So the question was, would you be willing to give up your private insurance?
That's not how it was asked.
For such a plan.
No,
and
that's what you heard, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's certainly what I heard.
Okay. Let's just remind Ms. Harris of what was actually asked.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
That's not quite the same as if you would do that.
And in terms of, I am supportive of Medicare for all, and under a Medicare for all policy, private insurance would certainly exist, and for supplemental coverage. But under Medicare for all, and my vision of it, we would actually extend benefits. So, for example, vision care, dental care, hearing aids, which currently are not covered, and anyone you know who's a senior can tell you they're extremely expensive, and people have to come out of pocket to pay.
You don't have to be a senior to have hearing aids. I'm not voting for her.
For them. Included in my perspective on the issue of private insurance is this, and I told the story last night. Look, any night in America, there is some parent who's got a child who has a fever.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't want to hear her. Ugh. Be on the lookout for the term weaponized ignorance. Be on the lookout for it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is... there have been black leaders out there. If you're talking about Kamala Harris not being African American, not being an American black, let's say you were ADOS, then you will be called out for your weaponized ignorance.
How is it weaponized? I mean, I can say being called out for your ignorance, even though there's no ignorance involved. It's actually a deeper understanding. Mm-hmm. But you can say that's ignorance from an ignorant point of view. What's the weaponized?
I don't know, but I'm just telling you. I'm seeing this. I'm hearing this.
We'll keep an eye out for it then.
Weaponized ignorance.
I have the 2 Kamala versus Don Jr. tweets clips.
Okay.
That were taken to an extreme on Democracy Now! With just a lot of bullshit.
California Senator and presidential candidate Kamala Harris is riding a new wave of momentum following her debate performance last week when she challenged Joe Biden's past history of working with segregationist lawmakers and his opposition to busing to integrate schools in the 1970s. Well, Harris has jumped in several opinion polls. There's been also a right-wing backlash online. On Thursday, the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., retweeted a message from an alt-right personality that read, quote, Kamala Harris is not an American black. She's half Indian and half Jamaican. I'm so sick of people robbing American blacks like myself of our history. It's disgusting. Harris's family were actually slave owners.
So the tweet said. Donald Trump Jr. reposted the...
So the tweet said.
Yeah. So the tweet said. So now when she says that, is she implied, when she said, the way she positions this comment, this is implying that the tweet is bullshit. Because
it's the same as saying claimed.
It's just like claimed. But it was also the intonation. So the tweet said. In other words, Kamala Harris is not Jamaican and Indian, and her ancestors never owned slaves. Is that what Amy is implying?
Weaponized ignorance.
The tweet said that she's half Indian, half Jamaican, and her ancestors owned slaves.
Yeah.
Is that true or not?
That is true.
Well, then why is Amy implying that it's not true?
Because Amy is a douchebag.
Okay. Continue.
Of our history, it's disgusting. Harris's family were actually slave owners.
So the tweet said. Donald Trump Jr. reposted the tweet, adding, "Is this true? Wow." Trump Jr. then deleted the tweet later that night after coming under fire from several other 2020 presidential candidates, including Joe Biden, who tweeted, quote, "The same forces of hatred rooted in birtherism that questioned Barack Obama's American citizenship and even his racial identity are now being used against Senator Kamala Harris," unquote.
Now, please tell me that right after that, Amy and her Democracy Now! Cohorts went into Kamala's parents and their history and where she grew up and where she went to school and her true heritage. They did that, I'm sure. It's Democracy Now! After all.
I like the fact that you're using my bit.
I know, it's great, isn't it? I'm doing sports. I'm doing your bits.
Well, let's answer that question with the next thing that happens here.
2020 Democratic presidential hopeful Julian Castro told CNN Donald Trump Jr. behaved like a coward.
This is the game that these folks play. They put something out there. You notice what he did. He tweeted it out, and then he deleted it like a coward so he can say, oh, that was just a mistake. But he knows what he's doing. He's giving voice to these racist utterances about Senator Harris. We need to dispel them immediately and condemn them and then not give them any more life because they're disgusting.
Well,
the answer to your question is
no. That is clearly no.
It's a no. Instead, they attack him as being a racist pig. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about this little brouhaha, which is based on the simple fact that she's half Indian and half Jamaican. I mean, so what? Why don't they just admit it? No, you can't admit it. So
this is what's interesting.
And that's a fact. And then so they try to twist it into a version of birtherism.
Oh yeah, that's because
how does that work logically? If it's
it doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, I'll tell you why.
Okay, because break it down because I'm listening to this thing. This is diluted.
Yes. Well, yes. Okay. First of all, if you ask anyone, any white person in America and anywhere in the world, probably, what was Barack Obama, they will say America's first African American president. He was not, in fact. If you believe that the story that he was born in Indonesia. Born of an Indonesian father and a white mother in Hawaii, then he is not African American. He's not ADOS. He is black, brown, whatever you want to call it. Does not have the complete black experience of African Americans. Now, if you want to believe he was born in Kenya, yeah, I mean, you can say he's African/American, but not the same as African American. Does not have the same background. But they were the comparison of Kamala Harris, who was also not African American, American descendant of slavery. That's how you get that comparison. They need to pull that apart, pull it away from the god Obama, who also was not African American, and so they use something convenient. It's I think a dangerous strategy, but it's very convenient because you get to say that's birtherism, which immediately makes it racist, and something Trump did, which is also not true, but Trump is universally blamed for starting birtherism.
The Republicans have got to get back on the old track that Hillary is the one who came up with the birtherism.
Well, her campaign,
her boys.
Her campaign, yeah.
In particular, that one guy's name eludes me, but it's their strategy. It was during the campaign in 2008 that this came up. It had nothing to do with Trump in 2016. That was 8 years later that Trump started. Well, actually, he started maybe a couple of years earlier, just I think as a lark. But
I have a clip here which we'll just dump out of when we're done with this. Was a call-in show on WHUR 96.3. This is Howard University Radio, college radio, but not a small station. Dr. Greg Carr, he's the chair of the Afro-American Studies for Howard University. And we'll listen to this exchange. Let me see if I can get it right.
Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Thank you for having me.
Good evening to you also, Dr. Carr.
Good evening, brother.
I was calling today actually because I am actually one of the people that is a part of the ADOS movement, the American Descendant of Slavery movement.
Good.
And I've engaged with you actually on Twitter, Mr. Carr. I actually wanted to make a couple things clear.
Actually,
the conversation for us, at least, or on Twitter, or with I think a large portion of Black America, I'm not saying all, has nothing to do with Kamala Harris being Black. It really doesn't. Most Black people don't even care about that. What we're talking about is lineage and ethnicity. That's what we're talking about. And if your family comes rooted out of Jamaica, all of your cousins, your grandparents, you can't be African American. It's very simple. Now, when I say African American, I mean a descendant of U.S. chattel slavery. I don't mean a second generation person whose parents are native born African. Okay? So that's kind of the issue. The other issue that we're dealing with is that Black America has learned from the Obama administration. I would have to agree with you, Mr. Carr, here that Obama is not the greatest president at all. And if you look at his policies, he actually took away more from HBCU funding than George Bush did, which most Black people don't know. But we are largely an apolitical group. What ADOS is doing is bringing awareness and trying to instill a political education or awareness in the African American community that largely lacks. Ms. Harris's policies do not support Black people. That's the problem. Not only does her record not support Black people, but Black people have been telling every candidate, we want a Black agenda. Neither the two Black candidates have one. So that should be something that Black people should be looking at. That supposedly these are Black candidates, supposedly African American. Mr. Booker is for sure. But these people don't actually have anything for Black people. What they have is to share for everyone else. But H-1B1, which Ms. Harris actually supports for Indians, which she is an Indian first because that's who raised her, okay? And secondly, also, the immigration policy.
I thought that was pretty funny. Hey, H-1B1, of course she wants to do that. It's for her own people, for the Indians, that she's half Indian.
That she's also behind. Do not service the Black community.
Brother
we
Derek,
have the actual data.
Hold on for a second, Derek. Go ahead, Dr. Carr.
I was just going to say, Brother Derek, and I hope you hang on for a few minutes. This is the kind of weaponized ignorance that ADOS, this hashtag, is promoting. There is no,
and there you have it, weaponized ignorance, and he's going against us. He said, this caller just laid out everything.
That is clip of the day for me.
Oh well, bring it on.
Clip of the day.
He actually says it 2 more times. You want to hear a little more?
So this guy, Dr. Carr, who's an apologist, I guess, for someone or something, the Democrats. He's just a Democrat. And so he's not putting up with any of this because a lot of Black Democrats, actually a lot more white than Black, a lot of Democrats, period, do not want to see anyone who's Black get out of line. They're getting out of line.
Exactly.
Uppity.
Well, listen to another 30 seconds here.
You don't speak for anyone other than yourself. I hope you don't embrace the extreme xenophobia of Antonio Moore or Yvette Carnell. At least
Antonio Moore is the guy we played who does YouTubes from his car. Yeah, it's extreme xenophobia. Sorry, I'm not hearing it, Dr. Carr.
They broadcast it on YouTube and some of these other venues. I'm not sure if you understand, just so we're very clear, when we say we have the data, I assume you're talking about Sandy Darity, my colleague Sandy Darity at Duke. None of this, and I'm sure you've also read the platforms of all the candidates for Democratic nomination or seen the debates. For example, their positions on appointments to the federal bench. The Trump administration has appointed about a fifth of the federal bench in the last 2 years. These are the judges that will decide our fates, the fates of the people who claim to be speaking for the majority of Black people. And not only is it incredibly short-sighted and deeply underinformed, it's really weaponized ignorance to talk about anything from reparations to immigration visas as, these are the single issues facing the Black community. And Derek, with all due respect, brother, I think anyone listening to what you've laid out over the last 60 to 90 seconds can come away very clear about one thing. This is not an informed political opinion. And as far as this, who is Black and who is not Black, I would encourage you to study not only the long history of the reparations movement, but the history of African solidarity movements.
All right. And on and on. I'll put it in the show notes. The whole thing is kind of interesting to listen to. There it is. Shut up. Shut up. You're ignorant. And
Shut up, get in line.
And your weapon. Yeah. Hey, the two old white guys over here, they see what's going on. We hear it.
Oh, that guy, that ADOS guy that called in, he knows what's going on, too. He's not going to put up with this bull crap.
Thank goodness. Oh, hey, with that, we need to take a break.
No, you're right.
The affiliates are pissed once again. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the colonial flag, John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, ships to sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the world, names and nights out there.
Yeah, in the morning to all the trolls who did show up today. I know it's a tough one. Let me see what we got in our troll room. We've got 837. Not bad for a 4th of July. Appreciate y'all showing up. That is noagendastream.com, where we had live pre-streams today. There's always something cool going on. Nick the Rat last night. You can go to noagendastream.com, where you can hop on the stream, listen to what's going on in real time. You can troll. You can just do whatever you want, pretty much troll. And I'd like to thank our artist who brought us the artwork for episode 1151. The title of that was Brand Purpose. Now, this was Nick the Rat, who I just mentioned, who brought us the album art. It was the Rainbow Pride No Agenda art, which
this was actually we had
a tough choice. Tough choice.
Rough one. In fact, I'm going to go look at the art so we can, because once in a while it's nice to talk about what we did, why we chose the art that we chose, and that sort of thing.
Well, there were reasons why we didn't choose some otherwise really good contenders.
Yeah, and I think it should be discussed at least.
Oh, by the way, Thorin. You remember Thorin?
Yeah, Thorin, who disappeared.
He tweeted. He tweeted this morning and said, "Guys, I'm not overboard. I no longer have the same dude named Ben job that I have, so I no longer have an opportunity to listen live and do the artwork. But he's still on board, and he's
that's good
he's loving
know.
Us. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
You do have to listen live.
Yeah, there's no other way to do that. So we had." And some Nike stuff, which was not really appropriate.
Yeah, the one I liked the most, but it was not. It was another Nick the Rat piece, which was Biden with the makeup on. I'm sorry, Bernie with the makeup on, which was kind of I saw it because I did this with Al Gore. I had done a picture, and I use it over and over again in my blog and elsewhere, of Al Gore wearing eyeshadow and red lips, because of that one debate that he was in that one time against Bush, where they had so much makeup on.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. And he was like, so I just did it over the top. And so I thought this particular one with Bernie with the red lips was pretty funny. Then there was some.
Well, here's the one that I wanted. The one that I really wanted to be good was by Darren O'Neill. And it was based on the knitting community. If you don't call out Trump as a racist in the knitting community, and he had the knitted sweater with Trump sucks, but then the knitting needles looked like chopsticks.
Well, the knitting needles looked like chopsticks. A and B. My complaint was he didn't, and you don't have a lot of time to do this art, so this is speed art.
Yeah, and no disrespect, we're just critiquing.
Speed art is tough, it's rough, and it's hard, but people do it, and they can do it, and it can be done.
It's a tough game.
But what he had to do here, and I don't know if it was easy or not easy, because not everybody can texturize the font. So he needed to texturize the font so it looked like knitting instead of just a font.
Yeah, that's also true.
So that was the mistake. I didn't like it. That's the reason I got rejected. And then we had the pedo bear with
which was your favorite, I think.
It was pretty funny, but we can't use the pedo bear in our art.
Because with the little dancer girl,
the dancer girl and the pedo bear in the back. And
it's like, no, this is not a good idea.
This is not a good idea. But we were amused. Ho ho. I also like Podcast Madness.
Yeah, as in Reefer Madness, Podcast Madness. Yeah.
From this guy.
Bare Ass Godzilla.
Bare Ass guy, right, who would have had a double. He would have hit 2 in a row, which would have been nice for him. But I did like that piece a lot.
But Nick's piece was good.
We went the flag.
And that's also, and I recall myself saying this, you see this thing, you're going to tap on it. You want to click on it. I mean, how could you go wrong? We actually harped on corporate abuse of the LGBTQIAPK community by using the pride flag, and we went super meta and just did the same thing. I was so proud of us.
Course.
Yes, very good. Yeah. Yes, good for us. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com in case you're listening along in real time or if you want to check out what's going on. And you can also submit yourself, not yourself, but your artwork yourself anytime it's appropriate. And we appreciate the work that all of our artists do. And thank you, Nick the Rat. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com.
So let's thank a few people, starting with
somebody.
Herren Gronenwegen.
Oh, let me see. Oh,
Herco Gronenwegen.
Almost. Herco.
I got that.
Kind of. Herco Groenewegen.
Groenewegen.
Yes.
I understand he's from Holland.
So, yes.
$1,107.
Whoa. 70. Oh, 1107. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Kind of missed. It should have been 50. Kind of missed the show club. I think we should bonus him and just give him the show club member.
Even though it's not 1152?
Well, it was 1102. I thought maybe just, okay.
No.
We're not, okay. I'm just thinking. Anyway, quite a note. He says, please take editorial freedom. Thank you. I will. Dear John and Adam, Sir Hendrik unwittingly hit me in the mouth with Saturday's meetup. So he got hit in the mouth of the meetup.
That would have been
a quick donor.
That would have been in.
Hey, Hendrik, go find more guys like this guy.
Yeah, good work, Sir Hendrik.
Talk about that's fantastic. Discovered your show. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not overnight. It's not an overnight success. Almost a year ago via the TPO podcast, the best podcast in the Netherlands, according to the Mueller report.
It's true. I read it.
And it's true. And I didn't miss an episode since. I cannot show up for the Dutch meetup. In my hometown, being a giant douchebag. Compliments for the show. Not only did I not miss an episode, I only recall 2 pre-recorded episodes in a year. So obvious. So I'm not getting the hit me in the mouth of Saturday's meetup. But okay. He's dedicated is what he's saying. Who would have known that a slick countdown presenter from my youth, you, Adam, would become a voice of reason in my life? Must be John keeping him in check. Exactly. Of course, Adam was too slick and commercial back then. From my view, dressed up all black and pointy shoes and such.
Pointy shoes?
You had pointy shoes, huh?
I did, huh?
Luckily, my brain kicked in when I was a student. Even back in 89, I chose the ridiculousness of upcoming global warming as a subject for a presentation. Your show is a breath of fresh air. I'm looking forward to the like-minded people this Saturday. Oh, he's going this Saturday, I guess. I can write a book rivaling Tolkien with observations fitting the show, but that's not a note. Whoops. However, I do ponder about the advertising ruling the world. I fully agree this is the advertisers steering the behavior of the platform and media to the whim of the small, uninteresting minority. This is true. This is a good observation. In the Netherlands, advertisers like Heineken, Gillette, and even the Dutch Army recruitment have been called out at times. However, in my view, people taking offense and willing to boycott are A, not watching something, I can't read it, material, B, lazy pacifists, C, men with beards and hair buns and women who refuse to shave for the patriarchy, and all drink beer from microbreweries. It's a good rundown of the hipsters.
Well, and then he says, here's the reason for his donation amount. I'll get the inevitable night for. So he did 18 plus. So 18 is the shape-shifting Jew donation plus 33, the magic number, times 11 times 3. So he did a lot of magical numbers to come up with this donation amount.
Yeah, that was. I guess it was. It was in. What was it in? They don't use kroners or anything. They use euros.
No, he used dollars.
He comes up with 100,000. Oh, I say 107.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. He came up with a big number. Is all I know.
He would like to be known as Sir Herco, Knight of the Papal Fiefdom of Utrecht, which he is to rule someday, he said.
Good.
You're
scheduled.
Yes, you're on deck. That's what it's for. Go to Dvorak.org/peerage.itm. No, .htm. All uppercase. You can find out what you'll be responsible for. Neither I or the city of Utrecht are that religious, but it's still home of the only Dutch pope ever. Oh, is that so? I didn't know that there was even a Dutch pope ever at all.
I didn't know this either.
And in anything remotely papal, it's safer to be a knight than an altar boy. For the ceremony, I'm looking forward to the mutton and meat, but bring some Hollandse and kribbelinge. Kibbelinge. Oh, let me write that down. So I got to get that at the table. Hollandse is the fresh new herring that whenever they have the new catch, the first catch of the year.
Now you eat it raw or you eat it raw?
You slather it with onions.
Do you eat it with, it's not that oily crap.
Yeah, it's very fat. So
Yeah, but no, dude, there's this stuff you buy, it's like tinned usually, and the Danes eat this stuff.
I should explain this.
It's a herring that is completely just marinated in a thick, viscous oil.
No, so these have obviously been in salt first, to fry away anything that'll kill you. You hold it by the tail, so they cut the head off, they gut the fish, so then you just have the two kind of sides left. You pour some diced onions into that, and then you tilt your head back, you hold the thing up by its tail, and you eat it. And it's dynamite.
I'm sure it's good. I like pickle. My herring, I generally eat pickled herring. I like the pickling. But, and usually you don't get too many of the full fishes, which you can do that with. You have chunks, unfortunately. All right.
And then he does, does he have a jingle? Check on that for me, will you?
I'm looking.
Yeah, he is. Hold on. He has a question here. He says, P.S., can you please explain what the significance of the goat is? I get all of the show except for the goat. Well,
there's no significance to the goat. It's just we started playing this goat because it sounds like a person screaming, and then we started mixing it in with other things, and then someone came up with the idea of goat karma, and so we put it in with the karma. There's no. It's self-evolved.
Wait, didn't there was goat yoga? I think maybe that's when it.
I don't think so.
We started talking about the goat.
To goat yoga.
Does anyone know the genesis of the goat?
I think it's just self-evolved as a lark, a joke.
Although Sir Chris Wilson, he apparently is sleeping with the goat. So, it was the goat. It was the emotional support animal. That's how it came up. When people were, yes, of course. I think it was one of our funny jokes. People were taking peacocks on airplanes.
Goats,
So then we said we wanted an emotional support goat.
Well, it's just a funny sound. We play stuff sometimes that doesn't really have a meaning. That's a goat. Can you imagine having that in your backyard? It sounds like somebody's being murdered.
It goes back quite a while, though. This goat stuff. Yeah, service goat karma. Yeah, here it is. This is it. I knew we had it.
You've got karma.
We called it service goat karma. So there it is.
And it was service goat.
Service goat it is. All right. Well, thank you very much. See you at the round table with your Hollandse and Kibbelinge.
Wesley Young from Jamestown, New York comes in with $450 on one of these bank checks with a little note on there. Says no jingles, no karma, no note.
Okay, well, thank you very much. This is fantastic, Wesley.
I love that, yes.
Appreciate it.
Andrew German in Canton, Georgia, $412.62. And that's another check, and he sent not a handwritten, but a typed note, which I'll read. Finally, I'm paying off my enlightenment debt to the No Agenda Show. Thank you for your patience and for my persistent douchebaggery since my last donation. This humble token of my appreciation should reserve me a seat at the round table and perhaps ensure a little future karma. And then he's got all his accounting. So he got to 1033. Please knight me Sir Andy of the Hickory Flat, protector of small horses. And he is on the list.
Okay.
Also, please add me to the birthday list. I'm not sure if he's on there. 707, because it's lucky and it's my birthday, 707. That is a good day. My daughter, Jay, is born on 7/11.
Oh,
yeah, which I was so thankful for.
Okay, so Wesley, no, not Wesley. Andrew German, yes, he's on the list. No. Am I saying that wrong?
Yeah, Andrew German. I'm sorry. Yes,
he's on the list, and let me make sure his title is proper. Yes, Sir Andrew of the Hickory Flat, protector of small horses. Okay.
He continues, Adam, I was in Austin last year on business. It wasn't 10 minutes before I was brushed back by a green scooter and stepped in dog crap. It was the beginning of a wonderful 3 days.
Wait.
John, we recently sold our startup in the little office by the railroad tracks for a ton of dough, and now we have to move to fancier digs. Sadly, I became a bit of a foamer every time I heard the train horn. Special shout out to the Atlanta Local 404. Looking forward to our next meetup in a couple of weeks. The shows have been simply the best lately. No jingles, no karma, AMF, and best wishes.
And I was going to say there was something. He had nothing for the round table. No requirements.
No, he's good to go.
Okay.
Love that fish.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And see you at the round table.
Onward here. Mark Malin in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 333.74. Happy Independence Day. Please count this donation as a point for Independence Day contest. Right. We have this. Well, he's going to count this for 74. He's going to put the pennies in. So he's American.
Okay.
This contribution honors the American legacy of free speech that Canada does not have, which is demonstrated twice. I read it exactly how it was written, by the way, which is demonstrated twice a week on the best podcast in the universe. For jingles, can I get John Brennan's innocent until alleged guilty? Fear is freedom from Ben Shapiro and the Ben Shapiro laugh. Adios, mofos.
The Ben Shapiro laugh. I don't think it's labeled as such, but I'll do an equally as good Ben Shapiro for you.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Fear is freedom. Subjugation is liberation. Contradiction is truth. Those are the facts of this world, and you will all surrender to them. You pigs in human clothing.
Oh my God.
You've got karma.
Vincent James in Madison, Alabama comes in at $333, and I guess he gets upgraded to knight, or becomes a knight. This puts me over the top to become an unknighted. Oh, he's going to be an unknighted baron.
Well, so here's what happened. I got a note from the back office.
Right, this guy has to be knighted
first. And then he becomes a baron in one sitting.
Yeah.
This is
not
great.
an insta-baron, though, which is different.
Yeah.
He's been a knight for a while, and he just never cashed in on it. So he's belated. But it's not a black knight because it wasn't our screw-up. It was his. And it wasn't a screw-up. He is intentional. I could go on. I will send my accounting via email, which he did, and I'd love to be knighted on the 4th, which is today. I like this actually was a promotion we could have done. I'll send my title. We got all this stuff, and he's coming.
You mean we could have done Freedom Nights?
Yeah, Freedom Nights like freedom fries.
Okay.
Yeah, we leave a lot on the table.
We do. Because we want to do content in the show.
Which, we got other things to do besides scheming.
Yes.
Steve, 200, just plain old Steve. He's in Satan's asshole, a.k.a. Orlando, Florida.
Okay. All righty then.
Describing it. Steve from Satan's asshole. If you've ever been to Orlando during the summertime, you'd understand why I dub it Satan's asshole. Please give me a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
I've been listening a little over 2 months now, thanks to my good friend Kenny the German Kerman. I would also like to thank John the Brewer for introducing Kenny the German Kerman, because without him, I may have never found the podcast.
No.
Thank you, and keep up the great work.
Love how that works. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Kenny the German Kerman.
And John the Brewer.
And John the Brewer.
Who stopped brewing, apparently.
Oh, no.
Keith Gibson, $200. The brand discussion from Sunday was great, and another example of the excellent work done by the show. Happy 4th, and he needs a F cancer jingle. Thank you for your courage.
You've got karma.
And Steve and Keith are our two associate executive producers for show 1152, and that's our group of associates and executive producers for the show, and want to thank them for supporting this show and keeping everything going on a even keel.
Yeah, great turnout for a day off here in the United States of Gitmo Nation proper. Thank you for executive producing or associate executive producing. It is a duty for some, an innate obligation, and others participate in many other ways. People give lower amounts. We'll be thanking them, $50 and above in our second segment. But also, you heard us thank our artists for our artwork, and there's just a lot of things to be thankful for, particularly on this day of freedom. So remember, we'll be back with another show on Sunday. It could be a best of if I'm watching the World Women's Cup soccer, but maybe I'll just show up just for the heck of it. Please support us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
And now that you know the entire genesis of the goat, I mean, go propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
I do have a note of business, two notes of business to discuss briefly. One is I still haven't received the wedding video from you. Thanks.
Oh, I have it. I've uploaded it to the Cosmic Weenie, and I will give you the specific link. It's nothing you can accidentally find, obviously, because it's too big. It's a gigabyte.
Yeah, well, so you pretty much just gave everybody license to go and find this video on your Cosmic Weenie, like you can't do a directory listing?
No, you can't. You end up with a page. You can't.
Let me see.
If they find it and they want to download a gigabyte, I'll know. I'll just take it off.
A gigabyte is not what it used to be.
I don't want to burden the site with a gigabyte downloads.
Oh.
I mean, in fact, once you take it down, I'm erasing it.
Get rid of it. We got our photos. We got the wedding photos, finally. They came back.
Oh, yeah. Anything good?
Yes. There's some
next newsletter, the Sunday newsletter. The Sunday newsletter could use some photos.
Yeah, definitely. There's some, there's great photos of
Any photos of you dancing?
Yes.
Good. We'll use those.
Yes. There's also photos of the conga line with Horowitz, I think.
Oh, I definitely want that.
There's a photo of you, I think you, me, Mimi, Grand Duke David Foley, and then Horowitz is in the back, and he almost looks like a mafia hitman. Just kind of standing there, and protecting us. It's very, very odd. These are great photos. So yes, we shall ensure you have a few to use. Anything embarrassing is always good, right?
It's always the best. And that's what people want to see in the newsletter if they haven't signed up or if they've given up on the newsletter because there's one too many appeals. Yeah. A lot of people get sick of it. But the newsletter, I think, is a top-notch product.
Yes, I agree. It's an outstanding product, actually.
It's always got a laugh. There's always a good laugh in there.
So we really the second piece of business, I'm sorry, is a reminder. It's been on the list for several shows now, and somehow it just keeps slipping our mind, probably because we talk about it after the show, which is dumb, which is why we don't do that very often, talk about anything except the show. You are working on a radio play.
Well, I'm going to do 10 radio plays.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I can do radio plays. I know how to do them. I've done them when I was at Foothill College taking broadcasting. We did radio plays. It was archaic, but it was doable. But we had a real on-the-air radio station, which still exists, KFRC. And is it KFRC? No, it's not KFRC. It's something else. I can't remember. But it's a good station, good student station. But it had a lot of power. It wasn't like a wimpy little local station. Anyway, I've decided, because I don't know why I've gotten a hair up my ass, but I've decided I've been researching Broadway plays from the Burns Mantle series of best plays, which he started doing in 1919. Guy was born in 1870. And every year he did this for every season of Broadway. And there's a lot of old plays in there that would make excellent short half-hour radio plays if you adapted them. And adaptations is the way you do these things. And so I want to do a 10 of them, and I need some voice acting talents.
Well, I'm glad you came to me, John. As you know, I'm an outstanding voice pronunciator.
And that's a good example of what I'm not looking for. But I will say I am missing, although you have one on the line that might work, I am missing the big boomer, the big booming voice, the frontline voice.
I already told you who would be great for that.
I'm going to try him if he's got the big booming
voice. Do we mention him or do we not mention him? It sounds like you don't want him. Darren O'Neill.
Yeah, Darren O'Neill apparently has a nice big boomer.
He's a massive boomer.
Hello.
Darren O is the man. I think. And that's for.
But if anybody out there does work, as a drama, local theater or anything, you want to do some voice work, it's going to be pieced together. It's not like we're all going to go into a studio and do this thing. No, it's going to be posted, which is going to take some time. But all the roles will be just doled out to people, and sometimes more people than one, so you can get the best of the best. And you just read the script into a mic if you've got a mic and a recording system at home.
Into your Yeti Blue. Your Yeti Blue.
You use your Yeti Blue and then just yak into it, and then just send me the tapes and I'll piece them together after. But we need some auditions. Some people need to send some stuff in. I know we have probably about 50 people out there. I already have Dame Tanya. She'll do it, and she's an actress. And there's a few other people.
You have me.
Sorry?
You have me. I want to be.
You can do about 6 or 7 good voices.
Really? Oh.
I want you to do your crazy voices.
Okay. You got to tell me which one you want.
We'll just find stuff for everybody.
So what you're saying is the part was written for me. Thank you, John. I appreciate that so much.
There'll be a number of those for sure.
And what play are we doing?
Well, there's one is an hour. I'm trying to do half hours. I'm going to do. There's a couple of different plays. One's called The Red Planet, which is a very interesting play. I'm not going to discuss these plays in detail now because it would take up too much valuable time. But I'm also thinking of doing the readaptation of 1984 which was done as a radio play 4 times, including once by the BBC, which was a 2-hour play. It was too long. But there was a version done in about 1953 by the the Theater Guild out in New York, and they had a radio show for a while. And they did a version I think is just dynamite. It might be worth redoing.
Okay, cool. And
end of promotion.
And we're just putting this up. Is it a podcast that can people subscribe?
It's possible that we could use this as because there'd be half hours. We could run a couple of them as half of a filler show when we do a.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
I like that.
There'll be it'd be family stuff.
It's a family thing. Nice. Well, I'm all in. I like the idea.
Yeah. Here's what got me. I know how I've collected all the great radio plays from the 30s and 40s, and I like them. They're good. They're good material, but they've been continuing to do them to this day. And most of the people doing modern radio plays that they're doing now, like coming out as we speak, all the voicing is done by a bunch of squeaky, kind of fey millennials that have a lousy voice. They can't act. It's just like it's cringeworthy. And there's 2 or 3 troops. And a genuine troop of people, maybe 6 or 7 people that are doing a lot of these plays, and they're not good.
We could do auditions on the show, short ones. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, holy moly! Did you catch this? The auditions of the Mueller report, the movie?
No. I'm sure this is a gem, though.
Oh, yeah. So, and this is from Tom Steyer,
Steyer, that idiot.
The impeached Trump guy. So after the stellar, let me see, we had the, what was the thing that Rob Reiner did? Which video did he did one recently? He directed, was that everyone talking about the reading of the Mueller report? Then we had the play, the reading of the Mueller report. So now, what they're pretending, and it'll be great in audio only because you don't see the actors. Very often, or in fact, incredibly frequently, actors will be asked to record something at home to read a side, as it's called. So read a side from the script, which is just a little, 1 page typically, as an audition. And that is usually a pre-round that is done before people are called in for a cattle call. But often celebrities or people of some celebrity status will be asked to do this. And so they took a handful of celebs and sent them aside for the motion picture, the Mueller report, the movie. And so they're reading from this, and the gag is that they're reading from it, and they think it's fiction. They don't realize it's real. And, of course, it's acted. And it's shit acting, which makes it so meta, I have to play it for you.
Oh, God.
Okay. Does it look okay? The frame looks good.
Nobody ever gets apart from a self-tape. That's true.
Hi, my name is Minnie Driver. Deborah Messing. Marilyn Rice Cobb. Anika Noni Rose. Alicia Reiner.
Kirk Acevedo.
Joshua Molina. Rob Corddry.
John Cryer.
My name is Yvette Nicole Brown, and I'm reading for Mueller Report.
Mueller Report. Mueller Report. The movie.
Thanks for the opportunity.
According to Comey's account, at one point during the dinner,
The president stated, I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. I need loyalty.
I expect loyalty. What?
Okay. Could you imagine if this was from the real report? It is. Really? Seriously? No fucking way.
That's the real Mueller report, word for word.
Yep.
Come on.
The president told the FBI director that he needed loyalty? Get the fuck out of here.
Trump made public statements that included the following.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
I think you'll be rewarded mightily by our press.
I mean, they gotta impeach this guy, right?
Doug, yeah, I'm reading the thing. It's a mess.
Is this supposed to be funny or terrifying? Because it's both.
They're saying the president's lawyer says the president told him Mueller has to go.
And then Trump asked him to say that it never happened?
That's in the report? The Mueller report, right?
Have you read this thing? This is really scary.
This is some terrifying shit.
This is a fucking nightmare.
It's really got me bummed out. I don't want to be in this.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked. Oh, I like that part. Is that how it's going to end? I hope so.
There you go. How fabulous. Oh, so well done, Hollywood. And by the way, where was anyone with a true interpretation of the I'm fucked line? You know, you can interpret that, and it's just written, right? And everyone interprets it as, I'm fucked. Oh my God, I'm fucked. How about, I'm fucked? You know, it could be any type of interpretation.
Well, there's a lot of interpretation, but the one that gets me, which is not you don't have to interpret because we heard them all say it, which is that, hey, he was giving one of his ad-lib speeches where he's in front of the large audience of 25,000 saying, hey, Russia, if you can find the 30,000 emails, you know, the press will reward you. He never said he would reward him.
And thank you for...
We heard that, and it's a joke.
Thank you for bringing that up. There is some new developments regarding the... Well, at first it was 30,000 emails, and then somehow the magic number came in. It became 33,000 emails, which I always found peculiar. But
that meant it was important.
It's a very important thing, obviously. Chris Farrell of Judicial Watch. Judicial Watch is a right-wing funded group of lawyers, but they
maniacs.
They are, yeah, they are attack dogs for sure.
And their honcho, the guy who represents them on Twitter and elsewhere, is this pumped up guy, Tom Fitton.
Yeah,
who's I'm surprised he's not like kissing his biceps every so often.
Well, regardless of his physique, Chris Farrell is not the guy on Twitter, not the pumped up guy, but he is a lawyer. And he reports on this particular show, which I don't know if it's it's the Sebastian Gorka does either a podcast or a radio show. And I had to cut the guy out. I had to cut Gorka out of the whole thing because the way he operates, which is unlistenable, is you'll start saying something. He'll interrupt every 6 seconds, repeat exactly what you said. Luckily, there was some delay in their communication, so I was able to chop Gorka out. But he's he's really annoying.
Sliced him out of there.
I sliced him out, so there's a couple of unnatural jumps, maybe. What happened is, I'll just give you the background, then we'll go into the clip. Judicial Watch wanted information about the there's a Freedom of Information Act for these documents, for all the emails, everything that the State Department had. And apparently the State Department was so arrogant and being such dicks about it that one or two judges said, you know what? Screw you guys. Mandatory deposition under oath of anybody you guys want within the State Department. And they got one guy on the record. His name is John Hackett. And here is the story about that testimony.
This is big stuff because we have John Hackett, who's a former State Department official. He was the guy in charge of what they call the Directorate of Information Programs and Services, which is a very governmental way of saying all the records, all the FOIA-related stuff, among others, but in particular FOIA, because we had asked, this goes all the way back to Benghazi. So this is the guy at the State Department who is responsible for processing and handling all these records and turning them over. We deposed him, meaning one of our attorneys, actually two of our attorneys, sat down, and the State Department and the Justice Department's behavior and conduct in court has been so outrageous that they got really pissed off. And they said, you know what? We're not just going to do this on paper. You're going to get government officials under oath and make them swear to it. And you can ask whatever questions you want. And then the depositions themselves, the transcripts, we post on our website so everybody can read what went on. This is outrageous. Mr. Hackett was interviewed in a deposition under oath, and he said, look, I warned Hillary Clinton, her staff, the Deputy Secretary of State, a cast of characters. I warned them about what they were doing with records. He had knowledge that they were trying to destroy more than 30,000 emails. And he said, what is your practice? What's your program? How are you arriving at this decision? What's the guidance? She was running her own server. It's completely unlawful. Right. They knew that she was using a BlackBerry. In fact, he said, Mr. Hackett said under oath, I saw a clip on the television of her using a BlackBerry on a flight. And that he goes, what's with the BlackBerry? I mean, it alarmed him. This guy was actually trying to do his job. He's trying to be a good civil servant. Right. And he was freaked out by it and said, what are we doing with this set of records? Who's looking at them? He was astounded by it. And he repeatedly warned the entire chain of command of what was going on. He was alarmed at their destruction of emails. He knew that there was another attorney involved who was essentially the cover-up artist for all of this. In fact, the person was actually working in the Office of Legislative Affairs. This is guilty knowledge, foreknowledge, knowledge while it was going on, and then in the aftermath, this, what are we going to do to destroy and cover up and hide? It's utterly corrupt.
Yeah. This is what Hillary Clinton
come of it all.
Well, this is what Hillary Clinton meant when she said we will all hang together from nooses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what she meant.
Yeah.
But it turns out she's wrong. Nobody's hanging from any nooses.
Not yet.
Well,
yeah, but this, I mean, we even, I remember us going, the BlackBerry, we're just using a BlackBerry.
A BlackBerry.
That's not government issued. You can't use a BlackBerry.
It's a crackberry. I have a Ask Adam if you want to play.
Oh, I'm always interested in if I want to play. Do I have a choice? Can I opt out?
Yeah, you can say no, not now. I got a clip.
No. What I need is my jingle. All right. I will hit my jingle. Ask Adam. All right. I'm ready.
Is it? Okay.
Well, no, I can do more. I have another jingle.
No.
Ask Adam. Ask Adam. Will he know or will he won't? I don't know, but here we go. Ask Adam. Ask Adam. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I'm sorry I did that. Mm-hmm. Let's go with number one. This is an interesting. This has been going on. There's a big scandal because the integration in schools, Kamala Harris is making a big stink about being bust when the Berkeley schools were already integrated, and but no one wants to talk about that. But it turns out the big bastion of liberalism in this country and multiculturalism and diversity is New York. And they're the worst for all the wear. And play this clip.
The landmark 1954 Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board of Education, declared school-based racial segregation to be unconstitutional. It was intended to desegregate schools. But that isn't exactly what happened, at least in New York State. Researchers have found that New York City has some of America's most segregated schools. In the first of a two-part report examining school diversity and equity in New York City, I met with a group of students protesting segregation and visited a district in Brooklyn with a plan to increase diversity. This is part of our ongoing series, Chasing the Dream, Poverty and Opportunity in America.
On the 65th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education last month, students from
from across New York City gathered in Times Square. They handed out newspapers declaring retire segregation and called for the city's public schools to be integrated.
It's been 65 years since segregation in schools on the basis of race was ruled unconstitutional.
A UCLA study of public schools found in 2014 and again this year that New York remains the most segregated state for African American students, with 65% of them in intensely segregated schools.
Okay.
The question is, what state is number 2?
Texas.
Wrong.
Because Austin has nothing but white schools pretending to be integrated.
It's another bastion of liberalism. Illinois is number 2. Chicago.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was interesting myself. Okay, let's play clip 2.
The study found it was the second most segregated state for Latino students.
What is the first most segregated state for Latino students? New York being number 2.
California. Yes, I nailed it. Woo!
Come on down.
Really?
Another bastion of liberalism.
They talk a big game, don't they?
Talk a big game, and
what
that's
a
how
bunch
you do
of
it. You
phonies.
talk a big game and do nothing.
Just like
Elizabeth
Austin,
Warren
bunch of
bunch
of phonies in Austin too. Phonies. You talk, you got your diversity, you got all your programs, you have your meetings, your council meetings, you're phonies.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Big talk, no action. Now, the follow. This is just a wrap-up clip. It's got no more questions.
We sat down with 3 New York City high school students, members of the group Integrate NYC, who've been meeting with school district leadership, urging them to implement what they call a real integration plan for the next generation of students.
Looking at how the city is segregated, we noticed that there are 5 main ways that the segregation happens.
The students' plan addresses what they call the 5 R's.
The enrollment process, the resources that are distributed, the relationships in the schools and the curriculum, restorative justice practices, and teacher representation.
The mission is to have real integration in schools, more resource for everybody.
And how do you get there?
By getting more young people into the movement, because they're the ones that are affected by the system. Telling students that don't feel like leaders, that they are leaders and they can make change in their own schools.
What does an integrated school look like to you?
An integrated school would reflect the outwards community. If there's a certain percentage of white students, Black, Asian, Latinx, the school should be able to reflect that. There's students who, like, maybe their first language isn't English, right? Students who are English language learners, students with disabilities. There's different ways that students experience life, and all of those different experiences put together in a school community are what make it so different and special and help the students learn from not only the content they're being taught, but each other.
Each other?
They don't know what they're doing, in other words.
There's some research.
Learn from each other?
Yeah, so I have my thoughts on this type of stuff. And let me see. This comes from Education Next. Today, Los Angeles and California as a whole have abandoned integration as the chief mechanism of school reform and embraced charter schools instead. This has happened all over the country, but California has led the way. It has 630,000 students in charter schools, more than any other state, and the Los Angeles Unified School District has more than 154,000 of them. Charters are associated with choice and innovation, important elements of the good life that California is famous for. In a deep blue state,
pooping in the street.
In a deep blue state, that good life theoretically includes diversity, and many white liberals believe charters can achieve that too. After all, a do-it-yourself school can do anything it wants, but it doesn't, because you're phonies. We got tons of charter schools in Austin. Phonies. You bus white children to black schools. That's what I'm for.
Well, I'm not for any of it.
No, I'm just yelling in the wind.
I think the whole thing is ridiculous. People should go to the school that's closest to them. And if it happens to be largely black or largely white or mixed, or they're in the halfway between this and that, that's the way it is. You just cater to them, but you make sure that they have the same quality of education, which is the hard part. They can't do that. So it's just a mess.
Well, at any rate,
and by the way, New York is going to be, if anyone likes to invest in things, I think private schools and maybe charter schools, New York in particular is going to be a target because they are taken down. There's, New York's got a bunch of these special hoity-toity schools, Stuyvesant and the arts and whatever it is, the dramatic arts school. There's a bunch of these high schools that are high-end public schools for kids that are special in terms of like they can sing, they can dance, or they're really smart, like they're geniuses. They put them in these special schools and they keep them there, and then they push them off to MIT and they're good to go. Those are all through. They're not going to let those be any. You're not going to. If you're a smart kid, you can end up anywhere. So private schools is what's going to happen in New York. They're going to take over. They've stayed off. New York has stopped the private school movement. There's a lot of private schools, but they've put kind of tamped it down by having these special schools for special kids who are really smart or really talented. But now that's over, so it's going to just fall apart. New York's screwed,
and California's not.
No, California's been screwed. We got pooping on the street going on here. No, California is a mess, and then they're charging this extra gasoline tax. They're going to add. We already have the highest gasoline price in the country. They're going to, by law, I think it's coming up. They're going to drop 75 cents on it, and then they're going to drop every year another 50 cents forever.
Man,
so it's just, and they can't do anything about it, at least for now.
How long are you going to hang in there?
Oh, the best.
Well, you don't go anywhere, so you don't need gas. You don't need petrol, so you're just hanging around till the poop comes all the way up your
I don't see
walkway.
The poop floating in yet. I'm on the other side of the bay, so it's when the bay is full of poop, it stinks.
So I was watching Tucker Carlson on, I think it was Monday, and he did his whole week from Japan and North Korea, and he got an interview with the president. And he was at the now famous, I won't say infamous, but the actual famous crossing of the demilitarized zone into North Korea, which, by the way, from everything I saw, the president walked that himself. No Secret Service, nothing was around him. He walked that himself. I thought that was, I was like, all right. You're pretty sure of yourself? Yeah, I think that took some nerve. But
he probably didn't take nerve because I believe I was telling people how much I'd love to go to North Korea, and the liberals, in the area. Oh my God, that horrible dictator! How could you do that? You're going to get killed. I don't believe that's true. I think it's bull crap.
Well,
and so Trump didn't have a problem walking across, but of course the liberals all made a big fuss about it because oh my God.
Not just liberals, just. People who are nuts.
That's
people
true. Not just
insane.
a lot of people. The right wing isn't for this either.
But Tucker Carlson was doing something very strange. He kept taking pictures of the North Korean Secret Service guys, and he kept showing them from his iPhone. Oh, look, these guys. What are they? I mean, it was really weird. I mean, I don't know why he did that, but he kept saying, oh, look at these uncouth individuals. Oh, they look so strange. Whoa, that'll make you think. It's like, have you ever taken pictures of our Secret Service guys? They look pretty creepy, too. It was uncouth.
Maybe that was just to pass on the images to the CIA or whoever Tucker's really working for.
Now, there's an interesting point. I like that.
So what do? You go in and take pictures of the crowd. Look, I'm taking pictures of the crowd, but you're actually zooming in on certain characters, and then you pass them on. You get paid.
Well, then he had an interview with the president, which was pretty, dry. There wasn't a lot going on. But we here at the No Agenda Show, we have a theory that the truth always wants to come out. And it slips out in weird ways. And with this president, you never quite know, but he slipped out a lot of truths in his speaking, and he just kind of continues, and no one ever calls him on it, which was weird. When I heard,
no one ever calls anybody on anything.
You came very close to sending the U.S. military to strike Iran. You pulled back at the last moment. You were criticized by neocons in Washington for doing that. They wanted you to strike Iran. Why do you think they wanted
And I was given a lot of credit by most people. A lot of people gave me a lot of credit.
The public was on your side, for sure.
A lot of people said that was a great presidential moment, which was, rather shocking to hear. So we shot down an unmanned drone.
Yeah.
And they...
What?
Wow, that's a good one. Well, hold on a second. Right then, Tucker, of course, caught that because he's listening carefully. Because Tucker, when people interview somebody, they listen to what they have to say. And so Tucker caught that and called him on it, and then Trump corrected the problem, right?
No, he showed more of those pictures of the security guys. No.
To hear. So we shot down an unmanned drone.
Yeah.
And they claim it was over their territory.
No, it's worse. He affirms that we shot down the unmanned drone by saying, yeah.
So we shot down an unmanned drone.
Yeah.
And they claim it was over their territory, which it wasn't, but they would say that. So on top of it, they'll say unmanned and over their territory, and then we go in. Before I sent them out, they had to give me everything I wanted to know by 7 o'clock.
All right, fine. So when I hear that kind of stuff, it's, wasn't it like, was it Rumsfeld? Let me find it. I'm sure we have the Rumsfeld.
We have a number.
Yeah, here, this is Rumsfeld talking about Flight 93.
Have a sense, if we imagine the kind of world we would face if the people who bombed the Best Hall in Mosul, or the people who did the bombing in Spain, or the people who attacked the United States in New York, shot down the plane over Pennsylvania and attacked the Pentagon.
Yeah. Shot down the plane over Pennsylvania. Sure that happened. No. So when I hear this stuff, I think, okay, so we shot down the drone. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like it sounds like the truth wanted to come out. That whole thing sounded like a bullcrap false flag. And
the whole thing was a bullcrap.
Luckily, no one, the president didn't fall for it. It's just, thank God we do this show. Who else would I be able to share this stuff with except my wife?
And be an old codger. We get to be old codgers and in public. Hey, the way I see it. Here's one of the things that got my attention was well, here's the I'm going to skip that and go to this. This is because I've been following this, especially on CBS with Major Garrett, because the media keeps going on and on, but they don't like to have this July 4th thing going on, especially if it displays a flag.
Oh, no, tanks and weapons.
And so now they got the tanks and they're
planes.
all bent out of shape. And so we used to be a nonpartisan celebration of July 4th. Now it's all about Trump. And they keep saying that. And I don't see that it's all about Trump. It's all about Trump wanting to have a big party, maybe. But it's not about that. It's about the party itself. And so I kept collecting clips all week about this, and Garrett is the worst. But they finally backed off a little bit. But I thought we'd do an update of the shindig, which is today, July 4th shindig in Washington, D.C. with the tanks. And they still play it as kind of a nasty thing.
The president is promising the show of a lifetime tomorrow in Washington. Tonight, as we speak, the military hardware is being put into place. Stages and stands are being prepared, and our chief Washington correspondent, Major Garrett, is at the Lincoln Memorial tonight. Major?
Good evening, David. Welcome to a hot and humid steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Over my shoulder, you see the Army Band, formerly known as Pershing's Own, part of the pageantry here. They're working through their rehearsals. To my left, you see one of two Bradley infantry vehicles, part of the militarized pageantry. You know, when the president talked about the show, that's an important word because this is his show. Stage managed for weeks by the White House. Of the cost, and there will be many, the president said, well, there'll be very little compared to what this is all worth. We have one figure that's worth noting. Reportedly, the National Park Service will have to use $2.5 million in user fees from other national parks to help defray some of the costs here. David?
Major, we know the president will be there. Who else is going to be with him?
Well, let me give you some visuals on that. My photographer, Tony Furlow, will show you the one bleacher wrapped in bunting. That is for VIPs. Who are the VIPs? That will be for the White House to decide. Some of those VIPs will be Republican Party donors, creating a bit of partisanship, muddying what is historically a nonpartisan event. As for all the other matters here, the district government wants to be repaid for any additional costs. The biggest thing here to think about, David, and one of the biggest challenges for everyone, the president, and involved in this, the weather forecast for this 4th of July here, 80% chance of thunderstorms and possibly lightning.
I think I can top that.
By the way, the host of the Anchorman should have asked him, "Why are you shouting?" But okay. Yeah, top it.
I'll top it. See, you really don't understand. You don't understand what this is about. I mean, why do we have military parades? We've had them I recall being on a drill team. We've talked about this.
Were you a baton twirler?
Oh, no. You get an old, I guess, an M1 rifle.
Oh, M1, yeah.
To twirl, it's heavy as.
It weighs a ton.
You got to twirl it around. You got to march, and we've talked about this for sure many years ago.
No, I would have remembered the visual.
Yeah, remember?
I visualize you in this thing.
I will.
I was to see you would be out. You're the tall guy. You'd be out in front in the middle.
I will jog your memory. Code 44
jogs nothing.
If you hear Code 44, that means that there's horse crap, and you be prepared to march over it or step through it or whatever. That was Code 44.
Huh.
Yeah. So why do we do this? Is it pride? Is it personally? I think with the amount of money we spend on it, I don't mind seeing it, and it's a big FU to the rest of the world. That's what we do. Here we are. We've got the biggest. We have the most powerful. Screw you. This is us. Everyone else does it except for Europe. They don't have the European armed forces yet. Yeah, France. Well, you see, you're all wrong. You're wrong. France doesn't do it for those reasons. France does it for different reasons. And you're so wrong that you could never be Joy Reid's friend.
And can I just, you mentioned, France and Kim Jong-un, who, Donald Trump greatly admires Kim Jong-un. He sort of aspires to be sort of a mini, Putin or Kim Jong-un. He wants to be have that kind of absolute.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't like the term. So I rarely use it, if at all. This is true Trump derangement syndrome. I don't like the term because it's not a real thing, but the apparent effects of whatever's going on is a real thing. So to say this is tedious.
Sort of aspires to be sort of a mini, Putin or Kim Jong-un. He wants to have that kind of absolute power. He claims Kim Jong-un's people just adore him. Well, they have no choice because he'd throw them in a gulag and probably kill them. But you think about the Bastille Day celebration. What is that celebration about? What is the message that's meant to be sent by...
Oh, well, let me stop. Since you brought up Bastille Day, what is the message? What is the message to be sent by having a parade on Bastille Day? Before I have Joy Reid school you.
I would say it was similar to the 4th of July. It was the French Revolution. It was the day that everything, happened.
So who is the show of force meant for?
Chopped heads?
By the military armada that's rolling down the streets of Paris. It's a message to tyrants. What Bastille Day represents is the victory over tyrannical rule.
Is that what it represents?
I think it was a stretch. You could maybe say that because it was when they overthrew the monarchy at the time.
Yeah, I think a guillotine.
They were tyrants of sorts, make them eat cake, I think.
A guillotine would have been more representative, but okay, I'll take it.
For the king and over the attempt for the king to return. The storming of the Bastille was about victory over tyrants. What is the message when Kim Jong-un rolls tanks down the streets of his capital? The message is to democracies. It's the messages to people like us, to Western democracies. You better be careful because we, the unified North Korean people, will defeat you. We have nukes. Be afraid of us. So what is the message Donald Trump is trying to send by rolling tanks down Constitution Avenue? Who is that message to? It's certainly not to tyrants because he likes tyrants. He loves tyrants. It's not to Putin. It's not to Kim Jong-un. It's not to the Saudis. Is it to our friends, Eastern democracies who he doesn't particularly like? Or is it to us? Is it to the resistance in this country? I got tanks.
No, you're talking over the best part.
I'm sorry. I was just listening to her ramble. I mean, the 4th of July is the 4th of July, and it's about, if she's going to use the tyrants analogy, it was because we overthrew the British rule in our country, which were tyrants because they made us pay taxes to them and other minor things at the time. And but we got fed up. So I don't see the difference is that he wants to put some tanks in this, which Kennedy did, by the way.
Listen before you go off. Listen.
Constitution Avenue. Who is that message to? It's certainly not to tyrants, because he likes tyrants. He loves tyrants. It's not to Putin. It's not to Kim Jong-un. It's not to the Saudis. Is it to our friends, Eastern democracies, who he doesn't particularly like? Or is it to us? Is it to the resistance in this country? I got tanks. I have this military armada. The message is a threat. But it's always a threat when you roll out your military. But it's to whom is the threat? And I suspect that the threat is to his fellow Americans. And I hate to say that, but I think that Donald Trump styles himself a tyrant, not a defeater of tyrants.
That's right. It's the resistance. It's against the American people. He's showing you, you stupid citizen, that he can kill you with his tanks. Do what he says.
Brother, who is that woman?
Joy Reid. On
that
MSNBC, yes.
Oh, I thought that it was Joy Reid was the interviewer.
No, Joy Reid was on in the afternoon, like a real prime time. She doesn't get this was real exposure for her.
Oh my God,
she's being interviewed.
Insane.
Yeah, yes, I think so.
I don't understand why they put up with that. This is a to me. This is an executive problem at CNN that they would have her on the air.
MSNBC.
Oh, I thought she was a CNN
No,
person.
she's MSNBC.
Okay, well, then I would blame Comcast executives for pushing this sort of thinking, because it's really harmful to the public at large. It's extremely negative. It's diluted. And dangerous. She's a very dangerous person to be, because there will always be somebody that buys into this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really shouldn't be, if you could do it on the corners, hand out pamphlets, do it some other way. But to be given a free reign on a broadcasting network, and I would say she does show up on NBC, and NBC's
and not
licensed.
a single person on that panel said, hold on a second, you're taking that a little bit far, perhaps. They went, oh yeah, yeah, right on. Okay,
yeah,
sister.
Yeah.
Right on, sister. You nailed it. We know what's going on. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. But she's not the craziest person I caught this week. The craziest has got to be our good old hat-wearing friend, Representative Frederica Wilson of, I think she's Florida, Congresswoman from Florida. She's the one with the cowboy hats, with the bejeweled cowboy hats.
Yeah.
So apparently she's pissed that people are making fun of representatives on Twitter and social media. And she not only is outraged, but she has a plan.
Those people who are online making fun of members of Congress are a disgrace. And there's no need for anyone to think that is unacceptable. We're going to shut them down and work with whoever it is to shut them down.
Now, I'm just going to stop here. A lot of people heard.
Hold on a second. Now, you condemned me for this some time ago, and I'm going to call you out on this. You condemned me because the speed of my clips was off by like 10% or something. The speed on this clip is off at least 30%. And you should just pull it. It's not right. It's not possible to sound like this.
That is her voice.
You screwed up.
That is her voice. That is Frederica Wilson. That is her voice. And as much as you despise the voice or think it's phony, a deep fake audio, she is actually saying here that when people make fun of representatives in Congress, they, as in she and the representatives, will work with whomever they need to shut them down. Now, as much as I think the branding conversation we had on the last show was important and a just one, this is the shit that this is inquiry worthy. She's literally saying here she will collude with commercial companies to have people's speech shut down just because they're making fun of people in Congress. This, although funny to listen to her nutty voice, and I'm going to play the whole clip, it's only 30 seconds, this is actually, she should be thrown out.
Those people who are online making fun of members of Congress are a disgrace. And there's no need for anyone to think that is unacceptable. We're going to shut them down and work with whoever it is to shut them down. and they should be prosecuted. You cannot intimidate members of Congress, threaten members of Congress. It is against the law, and it's a shame in this United States of America.
Woo! What do you say to that?
Miami-Dade County.
Is that where she's from?
Yep.
And that's
thank you, Miami, Florida, for giving us this woman as your representative. She's your representative, all you sharp operators there in Miami.
It's just, I love how she said.
How does somebody like this even get in office with that voice, let alone that stupid hat, and the fact that she's, an idiot?
I think she needs to be hauled before some kind of commission because she literally talked about deplatforming people as a political operative, as a representative, as a member of the government. That is actually censorship. That is actually illegal. Or am I way off base?
I'm all for it.
Screw it. That hat should be illegal.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab.
Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
And we do have a few people to thank for show 1152, which is a magic number somehow. Someone's pointed that out, and I got somebody else trying to do the math, so they couldn't do it. But let's start off with thanking Maxine Waters Gravel, who is now up to this donation was $145, so they're making a bum's rush for knighthood for the gravel.
Nice. And it's by the way, Maxine Waters Gravel is a dual citizen gravel. So that is $71 for being half Scandinavian. Apologies, Maxine Waters Gravel says, for burning down the White House, and also apologies for Justin Bieber and Trudeau, and $74 for being half American. No apologies ever for anything. Gravel on.
Okay, so far we have. I'm going to start doing a count. These are the offbeat donations. We have 174 from earlier, and then we have 1 and 1. So we have 2 to 1.
Okay, you count.
But we'll get down to the nitty gritty when we get to the real donations.
Good.
Jeffrey Jacks, parts unknown, $115.20. Happy 4th of July. You got nothing there for birthday or anything. John Robinet, $100. Darren O'Neill, big voice Darren.
Mm-hmm. Boomer Darren.
$100.
Darren the
Lon
Boomer.
Baker, $100. Baron Latikin, $100. Andre Haas in San Diego, $100.
Is he of the Haas racing team?
Haas.
No?
Or the Haas family that owns Levi's. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Either one is good.
He says, here's a hundo for your efforts against political BS and M5M mind control. I am ever so grateful that I found your podcast roughly 10 years ago when I was just a kid in high school. I even converted my sister Nina and my wife Karen into regular listeners.
Nice. When he says hundo, that reminds me of Rick Dees. You remember Rick Dees? Rick Dees in the morning. Rick Dees in the morning, everybody.
Duck or whatever it is. Disco Duck.
Rick Dees is a very famous morning radio disc jockey, and he did a parody song or a funny song, Disco Duck, in the 70s. But he was so rich. That probably still is. If someone got him coffee, he'd be like, thanks, man, here's a hundo. He gave people it was a Rick Dees hundo. And he'd give him $100. Hey, how you doing, Rick? Hundo.
That's a bit. That's a boss you want.
Yeah, that's the job I want.
Yeah, he has some jingle because we put a couple at put the karma at the end, and if you can get a pew ready, that would be great.
Oh, I'm sorry. What were we looking for? Yeah, I'm listening.
Pew at the end of it, or they'll read out here.
All right, go
Onward. I'm going to mention this. We don't do jingle requests at this level, but the jingle request for Alternative Universe is not a jingle, and you can't request it. G.L. Rockwell, 8841. Sir Herb Lamb, Earl of Georgia, 8008. A boob for America's birthday, he writes.
Nice. Nice.
Happy Independence Day. Stephen Hightower. Now, here we go. 7419. So that counts as a 74. Anonymous 74. And these are all 74s. These are the 74 guys.
And Stephen is the Sir Torialta Baronet of Slonoma and Glen Ellen.
Slonoma. Anonymous, Eric Sleer in Chicago. Sir Hamus, parts unknown. Anthony Rodriguez in Tucson, Arizona. Jim Garbazewski, I'm guessing. Joseph Willis, James Moore, Sir Up.
Pity.
Or Syrup. Sir Eric VM, Baron of the Valley in Van Nuys. Sir Jeffro of the Rock Wall. Joel Blazik in Reno. Sir Gator of the North Texas Swamps. Cassidy Eastwood in Oklahoma City. Christian Moreno in Costa Mesa. John D. Carney in Alpharetta, Georgia. Can you, while I'm reading this, can you do a head count so I have a number? So
now all of a sudden I'm in charge of this?
No, just count the numbers of 74s. Sir Matthew, Black Knight of the Ice Giants in San Diego. I can do it, but then I'd be doing it at the end. Brian Warner in Battle Creek. Sir Thomas Nussbaum, who should get a call out, a Nussbaum, in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He's actually a Grand Duke. Sir John Helmer. John Helmer in Shawnee, Kansas, and Sir John Knight of St. Patrick, patron saint of engineers, with J. Paul Michaud. The patron saint is from Heber Springs, and Paul Michaud is from parts unknown. That's our total of 74 votes.
22.
22 on top of 2, so that's 24 total. Meanwhile, in between here, we got Jonathan Reisman, 7333. Christopher Harabarak in Pickering, Ontario, Canada, with 71, and that would be our first 71 donor. This is a bit late since the day itself, but it's passed. But here's a July 1 donation. Okay, so now we got the Canadians coming in. Here they come. Sylvain Trudel in Montreal. Sir Tristan Banning in Toronto. And that's the end. So there's 3.
Let's see. How'd we do,
so 3
Canada?
Plus 1, 24-4.
There's no pride, man. They just got no pride.
They don't
You know what they do have? Schitt's Creek.
What about Schitt's Creek?
Have you ever seen this show?
Yeah, I saw it since it started.
Oh, we just finished season 5, the last one.
You've been watching it all along?
I love that show.
It's a very funny show.
And if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known it was Scandinavian.
It's kind of...
It's un-Canadian good.
Well, you got Gene Levy, who's part of the old Second City troupe out of Toronto.
Yeah, Chris Elliott.
And Chris Elliott, who's Bob Elliott's son, who's dry, the dry humor side of the business. And then you have Catherine Harris, also from Toronto, and then the girl and the young
Catherine
guy.
O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara?
Catherine O'Hara,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
O'Hara, yeah.
And I think there's mostly Canadians, in that thing. It's just a classic kind of...
It's a great show. It's produced by the CBC.
Borderline farce, yes?
Yes, it's completely... No, I think it's over the borderline farce. It's fantastic. Great show. So thank you for that, Canada. Too bad you don't love your country.
Well, it's still part of the Commonwealth. So
yes, that's true. That's true.
So we, hail to the Queen. Sonia Payne comes in at 6969 Paragon, Indiana. Sirgot Nate from Sebastopol, 6969. Matthew Scott and Willard, Missouri, 5646. He's got an MP3 file for
that is an interesting donation. It's a 5G, 4G donation, 5646, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I like that. The 5646 Rock Against 5G, 4G donation. Good.
I'm liking it. Sir Tom Dari in DeForest, Wisconsin, 5510, double nickels on the dime. Sarah Blaze in Squamish, BC, 55. You can count her as a Canadian.
I couldn't even add $6 for her own country. So sad. I'm just kidding, Scandinavians.
We love you.
Yeah.
Friend, especially you Albertans. Francisco Tejeda, 5432.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Sarah Blaze. Let me just make sure that made it through to the birthday list. I see. Is that her who says she's got a birthday there?
Today, July 1st, is his. Yeah, Nathan Rothenberger. I don't think it did.
Okay, Nathan Rothenberger from. Who was it from?
From Sarah. Just Sarah's good.
Sarah.
He knows who she is.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm glad I caught that.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm glad you did too. Francisco Tejeda, 5432. Sean Lukachuk, 5240. Jeremy Cartwright, Rockford, Illinois, 50. These are following donors are 50. It wraps us up. Jeremy Cartwright, Matthew Januszewski in Chicago. Villarreal, my favorite name in Mercedes, Texas. Bart Grootkerk in Haren.
Very good. Bart Grootkerk in Haren.
Serena Catania. So, loves the show. Thank you for telling it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what does she say? Thank you for telling it like it is. With knowledge, we can see all sides and make intelligent decisions. You guys rock.
That's right. Wait till you see my wedding pictures of me dancing. You'll see how much I rock.
I didn't see you dancing, but when you dance, do you have both thumbs in the air and you pump your thumbs up in the air and then just kind of kick randomly? There
is one actual shot of me dancing, and I have my fists out there and one thumb in the air. Oh yeah. It's
wow.
It's super embarrassing.
Elaine Bennis used to dance like that on the Seinfeld show. Some people will get that gag.
Yeah, I remember that.
Robert Drykosen. Esmeralda Gack in Ripon, Wisconsin. Michael Janoski in Lindora, Pennsylvania. Bradley Ledden, parts unknown. Scott E. Knight in Las Vegas, Nevada. Jason Deluzio in Chatsford, Pennsylvania. I think it's Sir. And Aichi Kitagawa in San Francisco. We want to thank all these folks who are helping us get show 1152 out the door. It's with your help that we can do this. Thank you very much.
Did you know that during this program, the largest earthquake in decades hit Southern California? 6.4?
That's been expected.
6.4. You didn't, well, it's Southern California, so you wouldn't feel anything.
No, you wouldn't feel it.
Let me see. 10:33 a.m. Quake was centered in the Searles Valley, about 100 miles from Los Angeles.
Well, be safe.
Yeah. Make sure you check in on Facebook.
Yeah,
do a safe check-in so everybody knows. Please be safe. I saw some of the...
6 is...
what scale? What
the problem
scale?
Is it doesn't make any difference anymore what the number is, because this is all... They've taken the Richter scale out, which was an objective recording, and now it's all it was an objective recording, now it's all subjective. You type in, you go to the USGS site and tell them what you felt.
Yeah. I like to count casualties. Yeah, that's
pretty good in California, keeping them pretty low.
Yeah, if you got no casualties, it's a great earthquake.
Yeah, it was just fun for the ride, except for the cleanup. Ugh.
Thank you to all who supported the show today. It makes us super happy because here we are. It is supposed to be. I was drinking my coffee out back doing about 5:30 this morning. The show prep. Already I could hear the neighbors. They're getting ready for 4th of July. They're getting stuff out there. By the time I got my coffee before we started the show, they got the music playing. Sir Gene texted me yesterday. Hey, I was going to be out of town, but now I'm in town. So, hey, what are you guys doing for 4th of July? I said, well, we're all working. Thank you very much. I start at 5:30. Tina will be up around the same time. After all that, around 4 this afternoon, we're going to have a burger, watch some TV, and go to sleep.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. What else are we going to do?
Gene coming over.
Well, he nailed it. He said,
"Well, looking for a free meal.
I'll go hang out with non-boring friends." I said, that's exactly right. We're totally boring on 4th of July. We work. Someone's got to keep this great country rolling.
What, you wanted to come over in the morning?
Look,
I thought you'd want to come over. You're good at the fireworks show.
I don't know about you, but I'm tired after the show.
Well, here we have fireworks everywhere, and we got a lot of fireworks, most of them mediocre and a lot of them in the fog. But the best fireworks display, generally speaking, and it's not the greatest anywhere, but it's a really good 4th of July fireworks show, is in Richmond over the San Francisco Bay yesterday. There's no fog. They did it last night. It's a nice show. It's not the most expensive, but it's a very nice show and well thought out with a good finale. And there was enough of a breeze, because the problem you have with fireworks shows is that around here, usually there's no breeze on 4th, and the smoke starts to accumulate. So as all the fireworks go into the same exact spot, it just behind all the smoke from the previous explosion. But no, it was moving them out, so you get to see everything as clean as a whistle. And that was yesterday. Today, it'll be lousy.
Mr. Adam Curry. Open the door, Mr. Curry, now!
That's the peerage committee, John. They want me to do the damings and the knightings and the title changes and everything. So I might as well comply.
I was going to go on and on about fireworks.
That's right. Thank you very much. Also, everyone who came in under $50. You're supporting the Value for Value Network in a way that works incredibly well for us with value. But thank you to everybody who supports the show in any way you do. And for financial support, which we do need, another show on Sunday, please go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Couple of karmas as requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And then I need a pew pew with that, I guess. There we go. Pew, 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 pew. All right, let's take a look at the birthdays. Today is July 4th, 2019. Nathan Rothenberger. Sarah says, happy birthday to you. July 4th is your birthday, and she says, I love you forever and always, babe. May you be blessed today. Then we have Sonia Payne, says happy birthday to her smoking hot husband, Nathan Payne of Paragon, Indiana. And Toby Langford will turn 47 on the 6th of July. And finally, Andrew German will be celebrating on July 7th, 7/7. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Quick look at our meetups. We got a nice list of them. Today, meetup taking place in Seattle and Washington, D.C. Go to noagendameetups.com. To find out exactly where these will be taking place. Tomorrow, the 5th, in Lisbon. That is in Portugal. And I'd love to. This is Lady Lisboa who's organizing that. So an actual dame. You get to meet her. July 6th, Utrecht, the Netherlands. July 9th in Knoxville, Tennessee. The 11th, Charleston, South Carolina. July 13th in Atlanta. Then we have the 19th, Colorado Springs, Colorado. July 20th, Southwest London comes back and congregates. Also, there's a brand new meetup listed, Chicagoland. The Chicagoland meetup, and I want to make sure that people are aware of that one. I'm going to, I wish we could do that one. I'm not sure we can go on July 20th. It'd be great to get to Chicago. The 26th, St. Louis, also Portland, Oregon. Then on the 27th, Buffalo, New York, and Frisco, Texas. And on July 28th, that's what we have on the list so far, will be Central Florida. And thank you, everybody who set these up. Go to noagendameetups.com. Find out if there's a meetup near you. This is something that is incredibly healthy to do. You can meet people who are maybe not always like-minded, but they're not going to be triggered and freak out because everyone just has good conversation. And, it's kind of like, John, like you and I, 11 years together. We never had a fight. It works, even though we differ from opinion from time to time. noagendameetups.com. And let me see, I got to do this in the right order because we do have a title change today, which will be a brand new knight going to Baron. So this is the unknighted Baron. But first, let's get our blades out here.
There you go.
Ooh, that's your 4th of July blade. Or you're just happy to see me.
It's red, white, and blue.
Up on the stage here, please, Terry Keller, Kirk James, Andrew German, and Heerko Groenewegen. Yeah, looks like we all got dudes here once again. So, gentlemen, you are about to join the illustrious club of the No Agenda Knights and Dames, and I'm hereby proud to pronounce the KD Sir Under the Radar, Sir Vincent Grilling Man of Greenbrier Woods, Sir Andrew of the Hickory Flat, protector of small horses, and Sir Hirko Groenewegen. For you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Hollandse Nieuwe and Kibbelinge. We got chilled Polish potato vodka, trophies and tires smoke, cowgirls and coffin varnish, vodka and Lilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escort, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum, and mutton and mead. It's a favorite, and it is all yours. All you have to do is go to noagendanation.com/rings. Please fill out the information, get that off to Eric so we can get you the right size, get your address, etc., all your postal deets. And once you're in receipt of your ring, your sealing wax, and your official certificate, please tweet out and toot if you're on the Mastodon Federation. Tweet and toot pictures of your pride of being a No Agenda Knight. Okay, we have one major title change today. You heard it earlier. Sir Vincent, who was just knighted as Grilling Man of Greenbrier Woods, now becomes the Baron of the Alabama Gulf Coast to the Florida Panhandle. That's quite a territory. Can he have all of that? Can he have the whole thing from the Alabama Gulf Coast to the Florida Panhandle? That whole swath?
It's a baron, yeah, that's not that much.
All righty then. Fantastic.
May have a competing baron in the area. We'll have to work that out.
Yes. Well, for sure, we want to thank everybody who became a knight for your incredible perseverance and sticking with us and sticking with the show. And I'm glad that you have something to show off now. They are great at meetups. People love to see the knight rings and dame rings at meetups. So bring it along.
And they beep if you're near your soulmate.
Your twin flame. It lights up when you're near your twin flame. Okay. I only really have one or two more topics. The bullcrap debate over what's happening at the border is just going insane. CBS this morning went to an all-time low. And I don't have the full report. I wish I had that. I just couldn't find it this morning. This is very reminiscent of we needed to get into the Iraq War, and it wasn't really happening. And we needed some more. We needed people to get on board. We needed the country to hate them, hate the Iraqis. And so a daughter of a... was it Helen Nolman, I think? Daughter of a big...
This is the Iraq War, the first one.
The first one, yeah.
Desert Storm with
Bush.
Bush won.
Yeah. So we needed to get some buy-in, and we didn't have weapons of mass destruction stuff. What we really needed was something that would touch the American hearts. And whenever you want to just think of the children, just do something with children, and you're good to go because everybody wants to think of the children. So instead of so the original template for this was the Iraqi soldiers came into the infirmary ward. And they took the babies out of the incubators and threw them on the floor.
Yeah, that was a good one. We have that clip somewhere.
That's worth looking for. Let me see. Incubator? No.
I don't think it would be under that.
What would it have been under?
Helen Knowlton, testimony, Iraq War. Probably under Iraq.
Let me see. Helen Knowlton's scam, maybe?
Thank you very much.
That would be part of
Our
it.
final witness is also using an assumed name, and again we ask.
Now, this was in the Senate, was it not?
No, this was what interesting about. This was a special hearing with the regular Congress people, but it was not in an official setting. It was something scamish about the setting.
Our friends in the media to respect the need for her to protect her family.
I had forgotten about this whole setup.
We finally call on Naira to testify.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Naira, and I just came out of Kuwait. My mother and I were in Kuwait on August 2nd for a peaceful summer holiday. My older sister had a baby on July 29th, and we wanted to spend some time in Kuwait with her. I only pray that none of my 10th grade classmates had a summer vacation like I did. I may have wished sometime that I could be an adult, that I could grow up quickly. What I saw happen to the children of Kuwait and to my country has changed my life forever. It has changed the life of all Kuwaitis, young and old. We are children no more. My sister, with my 5-day-old nephew, traveled across the desert to safety. There was no milk available for the baby in Kuwait. They barely escaped when their car was stuck in the desert sand, and help came from Saudi Arabia. I stayed behind and wanted to do something for my country. The second week after an invasion, I volunteered at the Al-Adan hospital with 12 other women who wanted to help as well. I was the youngest volunteer. The other women were from 20 to 30 years old. While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
Academy Award winner, ladies and gentlemen, Mira.
Hey, can we find out who this is? Because I'm doing these radio plays.
We need to find her. So just so you know, this turned out to be a total lie. Maybe she was the daughter of an ambassador, I think.
Yeah, she was the daughter of somebody important, and she was set up. It was put into this. Apparently, she's a pretty good actress, and they put her in front of Congress to give this cock and bull story, which was just a complete hoax, and it was done by Hill and Knowlton.
Yes, they had dreamed it up. They had given her the script, and it was total lie. And this is not just hearsay. So now we get. And this is a great script. You can use it for anything. Let's take some children and make them scream climate change. All right, let's do that. It's fantastic. Kids works. It's a great way to go. Just if you want to tug at the heartstrings. And that's what CBS This Morning did.
President of the American Academy of Pediatrics toured 2 CBP facilities last week and tells CBS News they are no place for children. Dr. Zaragoza received these pictures from a social worker that were drawn by children recently released from CBP custody, showing them in cages.
It paints a terrible picture, and imagine the effect it's going to have on these kids for the rest of their life here in the United States of America. This just should not be.
It's a devastating report by every measure.
We as adults can debate cages or not cages, but those drawings
really tell the story.
Yep.
Right about that.
So, have you seen these drawings?
Wait a minute. Hold on. I have not. Okay, first of all, no. And I want to point out something they said, which was their disclaimer. We can debate cages or not cages. And then they just gloss that over. But you can't deny these pictures.
The reason why, take a look at the pictures. The reason why they say that is because it doesn't look like a cage at all. You see bars. Or a fence, which is, what the kids. And it's interesting that all of them are drawn, and this is why I think it's total bullcrap. They were drawn from the reverse angle. So not what a child saw, and they were also done on canvas, which was mounted. I mean, and it was not just drawn on a piece of paper, John. It's canvas. Someone went out, got canvas, and said, "Now draw something." It doesn't really matter. The way you spin this and the way it's just abuse. It's abuse of children. The whole situation is sad for everybody everywhere. The whole thing is it's really, really sad.
Now, drawings by children who are held in boxes or whatever.
Cages.
Well, in this case,
you see them. You see these.
And this, by the way, and this is on This is the CBS website.
Yeah. You see it? You see the.
Well, they got one here. This one I'm looking at. There's a bunch of them, but the one I'm looking at is actually an overhead view.
Oh.
Looking down on the kids.
Of course.
Kids with blankets, and then there's. It's horrible.
Mm-hmm. It's also bullcrap.
They all, by the way, look like they were drawn by the same person.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's just abusing children to make a point. Now, I have one.
And by the way, this was part of a concerted effort nationwide because there were protests over here at El Cerrito Plaza, again, where I went the last time, because that's when they had the protests release the full report. And I have my sign that I collected. And then apparently now they had another one. It was about children in cages. And so they have one of these protests up in Port Angeles, Washington, with a bunch of people bitching and moaning about children in cages. And Mimi's there, who's fairly famous in the town for being a troublemaker. And so she apparently goes past all these, mostly old Democrat farts. And she starts grilling each one of them about why are you so concerned about the kids in the Texas holding facilities? We have homeless around here. We have things around here that need addressing immediately, and it's local. Why are you protesting the kids in Texas? And then nobody had a good answer. And then she then had some more mean questions I won't mention.
I don't even want to know. We need Mimi in Texas, though. And we need her in Austin. I'm going to need some help.
She was there, for the wedding, and she didn't think much of the place.
Oh, well, thanks. It's all right. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I have one final clip. Fareed Zakaria, the plagiarist from CNN, but he is a globalist that people listen to, and he's
against the Constitution. He wants it redone.
Oh, my God. For context, yes. Zakaria Constitution.
I don't know if we have a clip.
Yeah, we might have. Doesn't matter. What I have here is his take on the immigration situation at the border, which, as you recall, was a manufactured crisis until it wasn't, and then it was
Then
it was kids in cages, and which it isn't. But now it's just Trump is killing babies, throwing them out of the incubator onto. They should do that. I saw Trump come in, grab the baby from the incubator, and throw it on the floor.
The cold floor.
The cold floor. Here he is.
Here's my take. Given President Trump's mean-spirited and often bigoted attitudes on immigration...
And throwing babies on the floor from the incubators.
Cold floor. Me to say this, but he is right that the United States faces a crisis with its asylum system. Democrats might hope that the out-of-control situation at the southern border undermines Trump's image among his base as a tough guy who can tackle immigration, but they should be careful. It could actually work to the president's advantage. Since 2014, the flow of asylum seekers...
By the way, please take note that he doesn't really give a crap about the children and the asylum seekers or the immigrants. He only cares about Trump winning another election. That's what this whole piece is about.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, Democrats, pay attention. He's right, and he's going to win if you don't, lie more.
...goes into the United States has skyrocketed. Last year, immigration courts received 162,000 asylum claims, a 240% increase from 2014. The result is a staggering backlog, with more than 300,000 asylum cases pending, and the average immigration case has been pending for more than 700 days. It's also clear that the rules surrounding asylum are vague, lax, and being gamed. The initial step for many asylum seekers is to convince officers that they have a credible fear of persecution in their home countries, and about 75% meet that criteria. Some applicants for asylum have suspiciously similar stories using identical phrases. Many simply use the system to enter the U.S. and then melt into the shadows or gain a work permit while their application is pending. Asylum is meant to be granted to a very small number of people in extreme circumstances, not as a substitute for the process of immigration itself. Yet the two have gotten mixed up. As The Atlantic's David Frum has pointed out, the idea of a right to asylum is a relatively recent one, dating to the early years of the Cold War. Guilt-ridden over the rejection of many Jewish refugees during World War II, the UN created a right of asylum to protect those who were fleeing regimes where they would be killed or imprisoned because of their identity or beliefs. This standard has gotten broader and broader over the years and now includes threats of gang warfare and domestic violence. These looser criteria, coupled with the reality that this is a safe way to enter the U.S., have made the asylum system easy to abuse. Applications from Hondurans, Guatemalans, and Salvadorans have surged even though the murder rate in their countries has been cut in half. More broadly, hundreds of millions of people around the world who live in poor, unstable regions where threats of violence abound could easily apply for asylum. Do they all have the legal right to enter the U.S. through a back door, bypassing the normal immigration process? The Trump administration's approach has been mostly to toughen up the criteria, hire more judges, push Mexico to keep applicants from entering the U.S. But a much larger fix is needed. The criteria for asylum need to be rewritten and substantially tightened. The number of courts and officials dealing with asylum must be massively expanded. People should not be able to use asylum claims as a way to work in America. There needs to be a much greater cooperation with the home countries of these applicants rather than insults, threats, and aid freezes. No one fix will do it, but we need the kind of sensible bipartisan legislation that has resolved past immigration crises. Democrats have spent most of their efforts on this topic assailing the Trump administration for its heartlessness. Fine. But that does not address the roots of this genuine crisis. If things continue to spiral downward and America's southern border seems out of control, Trump's tough rhetoric and hardline stance will become increasingly attractive to the public. Keep in mind that the rise of populism in the Western world is almost everywhere tied to fears of growing out of control immigration.
Yeah, you'd think they'd notice that, but I guess
think
not.
a guy could say that in a little less words.
Yeah, I agree. But I thought it was important to play it because he does lay it out pretty well. But there's a couple of things I don't understand. So the INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, recognizes a asylum.
Is it nationality or naturalization?
What did I say? No, it's Immigration and Nationality Act, actually.
I thought it would be national. Okay.
Naturalization? Yeah, no, it's this is coming from the Wikipedia, so take it with whatever you want.
That's probably accurate.
The United States is obliged to recognize valid claims for asylum since under the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees and its 1967 protocol. As defined by these agreements, a refugee is a person who is outside their country of nationality, who owing to a fear of persecution on account of a protected ground is unable or unwilling to avail himself of the protection of the state. So it's about the state being against you.
Yeah, this is like what we're saying here is, I wish we had one. I don't know if we do. A Fletcher Soros. This is a Soros scam. He's orchestrated this to just embarrass our system in general. Yeah, no, it's bullcrap. The whole thing is nonsense.
Let me finish the. So it's owing to fear of persecution. Okay, protected grounds include race, nationality, religion, political opinion, and membership of a particular social group. But then here's the part that's very confused. So I don't see how I'm afraid of gangs, domestic violence qualifies, and those are the people, of course, that don't qualify. But by the time there's a court hearing, they're gone. They've melted into the shadows. But each year, the President of the United States sends a proposal to Congress for the maximum number of refugees to be admitted into the country under the asylum law for the upcoming fiscal year. And this typically goes unchallenged. I'm just seeing this now. I have not looked into it. But here is, for the last 7 years, the totals. So there's an allocation. Oh, yeah. So there's the ceiling, and then there's the actual arrivals. In 2013, the ceiling was 70,000. Actual arrivals, 58. That remained 70,000 through 2015, and the numbers all remained literally 69,987. I wonder if these numbers are bogus, actually. 2017 ceiling was 110,000, but only 53,000 were arrivals. for 2018, the ceiling was 45,000, but only 22,000 actual arrivals. So either there's a lack of people who are actually looking for asylum, or they're not processing them fast enough, or I don't know, but it seems...
Well, you're going to have to find out because now it's your beat.
Yeah, I'm going to find out. Because it seems like we have hundreds of thousands of people coming in, but they're not really even hitting the ceilings. And these ceilings seem reasonable, 30,000, 70,000 in some years.
70,000 is a good number.
Yeah. I thought
these absorb that quite easily.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I have two last clips. One is a 4th of July clip that we don't hear anymore. This is from 2015. Generally speaking, during many of the president pre-Trump, instead of talking about tanks and the wrecking the roads and doing all this other stuff, we generally heard something like this.
Americans didn't know it at the time, but they had several close calls leading up to the July 4th holiday, potential terror attacks inspired by ISIS. Chief U.S. security correspondent Jim Sciutto has that for us.
U.S. law enforcement thwarted several terror plots in the last 4 weeks, including plots timed to the July 4th weekend, U.S. officials tell CNN. Director James Comey says the FBI has made more than 10 ISIS-related arrests in the last month, some tied to the holiday.
They stopped the stuff that was trying to come at us for July 4th, but now it's July 7th and 8th, and they're on to the next thing.
The foiled attacks included targets coast to coast and were unsophisticated, with plans that included guns, knives, and other weapons, fitting ISIS's public calls to supporters to attack in any way possible. Investigators believe that ISIS members overseas enabled the plots, recruiting and encouraging Americans to carry out attacks on U.S. soil, even selecting possible targets. Comey calls it crowdsourcing terrorists. Senator James Rich telling CNN Wednesday that time was critical.
Some were quite imminent, actually.
Within days?
Within days. There was one, of course, there was even one that was within hours or minutes.
The foiled plots come as the FBI continues to warn that terror suspects have gone dark in cyberspace, increasingly communicating through encrypted messaging that is widely available but impossible for the intelligence community to monitor. July 4th weekend may have passed, but U.S. officials tell CNN that the risk of terror attacks remains very high.
Based on very recent past trends, ISIS has been willing to and able to push out information to Americans, and a small number have at least been willing to try to act based on that.
Our Jim Sciutto reporting there from Washington for us.
You know, you are so right, and I was just looking through the archives back to 2014, 15, 16, 17. No, not 17. 13. Every single year, 4th of July. Oh, ISIS, terror attack. They're going to get us. They hate our freedom. They hate our liberty. You're so right. And what happened this year? We don't have that anymore. There's no terror. We're done.
Trump changed the narrative.
Just shows you how much bullcrap it really is.
That's bullcrap. Now, I have one last clip to finish the show, unless you have one, because this is a show closer.
Yeah, no, we'll close the show.
Okay. And it also brings us back up to speed on vegetarianism, meat burgers, and it's about, and we like to do food stuff on this show.
Yes.
And this is a little rundown on the Impossible Burger.
Many Americans will spend the 4th of July barbecuing, but for a growing number, traditional meat will not be on the menu. In today's morning rounds, we look at the rising popularity and health effects of plant-based meat. Impossible Burger and Beyond Burger have exploded in popularity. The two alternative meat brands are available in more than 40,000 restaurants now and grocery stores combined. Dr. Tara Narula is at the table. We should note Tara comes from a house divided. Yeah. She's a vegetarian. Her husband eats meat. Tara, hi.
Yeah, I like your husband.
I know.
So what's in this meat?
Well, this is so interesting because actually these companies are not necessarily catering to people like me who are vegetarian, but to my husband. those who eat meat.
They want us.
They do. Yeah. And so they're mimicking the taste and the texture, the chew, the sizzle, and even the bleed.
Bleed. That is weird.
Which is pretty amazing. Yeah. So when you compare the Beyond Burger, for example, and Impossible Burger, they're relatively similar, but they differ in kind of the key components of their protein. So Beyond Burger uses a pea-based protein, Impossible uses a soy-based protein, and then they both have mixtures of some oils in them, either canola oil or coconut oil. And interestingly, also, you find the Beyond Burger in the meat section. They're specifically putting it there because they want to capture that market.
Can you capture the taste, or maybe you're not supposed to really capture the taste? Let it be what it is.
One of the differences between the two is Impossible Burger claims that they have found the reason that meat tastes like meat, and that's something called heme. So heme is an iron-containing molecule. You may have heard of hemoglobin or myoglobin. Yes. All animals and plants have it. And they basically have extracted this from the roots of soy plants and then grown it in yeast and then taken that heme and put it in their burger. And they're saying that that mimics the flavor, the aroma, the taste
Which one
in your
is
mouth.
Done that?
Impossible Burger.
Okay. So are they healthy? These plant-based burgers, are they healthy or healthier?
Right. So that's really a great question.
Woo! Good one. Show closer for sure.
I'll be here all the week.
Well done. We're having bison burgers tonight before we watch TV and
go
to bed.
Those are delicious.
Yeah, that's what you want, people.
Yeah.
Some soy. Yeah. Well, happy Independence Day, John.
Happy Independence Day to you and all the listeners who care about Independence Day. Of course, the Canadians don't, and why would the Europeans? They don't care. But we do.
We do. We care. And happy Canada Day, a couple days behind. And know that Nick the Rat is coming up next on NoAgendaStream.com, and that we have some end-of-show mixes, let's see, brought to us by Sir Seat Sitter, MG, and Danny Luce, coming to you from the frontier of Austin, Texas, FEMA Region Number 6, and all the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday. Please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mobos, and such.
Howdy, y'all. It's me here again with a quick reminder about what's really important on this 4th of July. You see, a lot of people are proud to be Americans, and that's wrong. If tomorrow the orange man was gone, I'd be happy with my life. After the communists win, everything will be just fine. Hitting Nazis with crowbars and with cement milkshakes. 'Cause the fag is an Asian fascist. It's not like Nazis can't be gay. And I'm proud to be an Antifa man, rising up against free speech. And I won't forget the M5M for always defending me. And I'll gladly stand up, throw at you a balloon that's full of pee. 'Cause it's the only route to stop the orange man from being president for eternity. Remember, folks, America sucks, and it's never too late to start punching Nazis and violently assaulting Republicans, centrists, journalists, and anyone who made Hillary lose by voting for Jill Stein.
Orange man bad.
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of plastic. Away from plastic towards paper. We have recently switched to drinking.
That's true. This is some next level Illuminati shit. Yourself pregnant. That's true. They've been growing babies in cows. That's true. That's true. Gosh, for 20
the life, you don't get to change.
That's true. Babies in cows.
Drinking water bottles.
So I got that that's pretty much their thesis.
That's true.
I have do you have a conclusion about this? Obviously he hates the daughter. Where with on this yeah, this is a modern Democrat. He did all the time.
That's true. Or just having fewer of. That's true. Us.
When we have water bottles out of a plastic
That's true.
like drink box water bottles.
That's true. If you find yourself pregnant, that's true. That's true. And just having fewer of. That's true. Us.
Plastic, away from plastic.
That's true.
That's true.
So I got that that's pretty much their thesis. Conclusion about this, or are you taking me somewhere?
That's true. Us.
Democrat. He did all the time.
Yeah, we're choice. Live so that the mammals can flourish. We're 500 million or 2 billion. Yeah, that's
Ambushed by Kamala Harris.
You know, but he was the winner. Hammering and hammering and hammering. Well, that sounds painful. Hit the buzzer.
There you go. It's all good. So I mentioned this to Mimi. So no, that he always has a shit-eating grit.
Okay, we can all go home.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Thank you for bringing us both sides.